senior member.
You can actually sit or just say.
9 p.m., 7 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Welcome, members of the community. The first meeting of the Town of Montgomery Town Council for 2020. As you may see, we have a live stream going on right now. Acquisitions Marketing is providing this service, and we are looking forward to having, at least for the month of January, the Planning Board, Town Boards, and the IDA boards live streamed for the month of January. We're going to consider a bunch of different packages and opportunities for us to do this in a cost-efficient way. We are looking into that right now. Just want to thank Acquisitions for making themselves available on short notice and working while we negotiate certain terms and trusting us to do that. I don't know where Billy is, but we thank you and Acquisitions for allowing us to do this while we figure out exactly how we're going to go moving forward in a sustainable way. Roll call. Looks like everybody's in attendance. Welcome, Councilwoman Kristen Brown.
Thank you.
Tara Stickles, our clerk. Our Deputy Supervisor, soon to be, not appointed yet, Ron Feller. Councilwoman Cindy Voss and Councilwoman Sherry Miller. Thank you for attending. We have actually a motion to amend the agenda. The last posted agenda is much different than the one that you will see printed out in the back. So I'm just going to read through those changes. A is Town of Montgomery. Well, that's not a change. The first change is D, where that has now become resolution creating town bookkeeper position. E is budget transfer for deputy supervisor position. F is budget transfer deputy registrar of vital statistics position. G is authorization of certain town personnel to attend Association of Towns conference. And H is the reorganization meeting itself. I've been advised by council to ask for a motion to adopt the agenda, or to amend the agenda. Moved by Councilwoman Brown, seconded by Councilwoman Voss. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Okay. I wanted to address a change in the agenda from previous years, previous administrations. When I was mayor of the Village of Walden, I enjoyed an open, transparent type of government. I know that we are used to one public comment period at the end of the meeting, but in the spirit of having productive discussion from residents and really encouraging active participation, I think it's really vital to give you guys an opportunity to chime in and give us some direction and ask us questions about what items are going to be discussed and what actions are being taken on. I think the feedback and the back and forth is very good. It's shown in my experience to have some really positive results. So at this time, and you will notice there will be sign-up sheets in the back. It's great to sign up. You don't have to sign up if you want to speak. You can raise your hand, but it allows me to help gauge who's spoken, and if you provide your phone number, it'll also allow me to easily get a hold of you to answer any questions I may not be able to answer, or our board members may not be able to answer while you're here. Also, public comment to me isn't just public comment. I like interacting with the public. I think it's important. So you will get some answers from me. If I don't have an answer from you, I will get back to you. You may hear that a lot. But I hope that you're okay with that, and I hope that you are understanding that we won't be able to answer any of your questions, but at least we're going to try and engage a little bit during public comment. With that being said, public comment on business of the town board. Does anyone have a comment, or is the sheet in the back available for me to take a look at first? Would you like to bring that up, Becky? Former Mayor Becky Pearson? All right, so we'll go off the list to start, and then after we go through the individuals who have signed up, I will entertain anyone else who would like to make a comment. The first, thank you for being first in line, Don Berger from the Village of Montgomery.
Hello. Oh. So how do you work this, folks?
There's a button, just hold it down and tilt your screen.
Hello.
I think it's working.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, hello board.
Hi.
Well, you look different up there. Glad you guys are here, and congratulations to everybody for being here today. It's a good looking board. The first thing I wanted to comment about, just a little funny little thing, because I was going to bring it up, but I noticed that you guys have already addressed it. I was going to talk about a little bit about this privilege to the floor thing. You know, we don't live in England, we're not kings and queens. We have a right as American citizens to speak. So I'm really glad that you changed that to public comment. I think that's a very good start. Now, just in general, you have the public comment on business of the town board. Does that mean just the items that you have listed here?
Correct. So if I can just reiterate real quick, public comment in the business of the board is just for the budget items. You will have an opportunity to comment on anything you'd like later after the meeting, and that's more of a privilege of the floor type comment period. So this would be specific to the agenda items, Don, your comments right now.
Okay. If you don't mind, you talked about the public getting involved. Does that also include the second meeting of the month?
Yes. So in work sessions, there will be public comment as well. Yes.
All right. Thank you for that.
No problem.
All right. So what I'm going to talk to you about is the comprehensive plan moratorium. Since your election, we've had many discussions on this between me and you, RPM, and yourself, and some of the members on the board. It's my view, and I do believe it's the view of RPM, that the moratorium comprehensive plan is brought up and discussed in a very quick and efficient manner. I don't think this is something that we could delay. So I have two suggestions that I think in moving forward that might be able to help it if you would consider them. One is that during the month of January, we have, between Planning Board and IDA, we have a tremendous amount on the agenda. Very important issues on the agenda. My fear is that if we keep pushing the moratorium comprehensive plan down to the next meeting, we've already had our Planning Board and IDA meetings, and I'm very fearful of what might happen at those meetings. So my suggestion is, one, is that maybe perhaps you've already done it, is to talk to each chair for those boards and ask them not to make a decision until you get your feet grounded. What I mean by that is to have full understanding, and I think you pretty much do, but there's an awful lot of text to read on the certain issues, particularly before the Planning Board and the IDA. You know our position with the Planning Board and the IDA, and I would just think that I don't think, for instance, Monday's an IDA meeting. I don't necessarily think it's fair to you and to the two new board members to have them render decisions when we've only been here a day. You know what I mean? I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to talk to those chair people and to push off their public comments or public hearings off a little bit until you get your feet wet.
Okay.
The other thing, the second part of that is that I know during the past year there were many special meetings. They were called for various different reasons. My suggestion to you on that is that perhaps you could have your first special meeting prior to the first planning board meeting, which is, I believe, is on the 13th. So you could actually start the process of perhaps forming your committee to the comprehensive plan. I don't know, maybe you can do that. Or more important to me is to speak of the moratorium, and you just have that special meeting for that issue, and that's it. I would think that we've been screaming for a moratorium for about 6 or 7 months now here. So I know what the attorney is going to say is, well, we haven't reviewed it. Well, you should have reviewed it because you know what we've been asking for. So this should be at the tip of your tongue. You should know, or you should be getting proper advice for a proper moratorium to be put installed. So I would think that it would be a very good idea that you could have a special meeting, bring everybody in, and to open that discussion immediately. Let's not wait to that second meeting. It's too important.
Okay.
We need to move on.
All right. I'm absolutely in favor when we bring that discussion item up to consider a special meeting before our next meeting. Okay, I will definitely bring that up when we discuss it. Thanks, Don. We have Fred Mertz, Frida Street, Montgomery.
It's nice to see new faces up there, and looking forward to seeing what happens. A while back, I was asked about a vision of what I saw Montgomery being, and so I put it to words. I'm going to share it. So each village in the town of Montgomery has its own character. I think this is based on the types of businesses there as well as the people who live there. This is the heritage of the town and the villages that draw people to live here. To be able to raise a family here, not just their children, but generations yet to come. This is a value that cannot have a price tag on it, nor should it ever. I like living in a quiet area, secluded from the world, so to speak, but yet close enough to step foot into that world when needed. It is like living in a movie village where local shops occupy the streets. A friendly wave of a hand or a hi, how are you doing, greeting can be made. Yet it is a dream world, so to speak, but yet it is here. There is a sense of belonging and a desire to want to belong. By not having a plan to allow the outside world to enter, encroachment occurs. Chaos replaces the joy and the peace. The comprehensive plan, along with zoning laws, reach out to the outside world and say, sure, come closer, but let's leave the families here safe and secure. There are areas in the town designed for this. The heritage of the town and villages being eroded away when those areas are overrun, but the come on in sign is flashing more often than the lights on the stop school bus. Smart growth allows prosperity as well as a sense of belonging. It also respects the people who live here. This is what I would like to see happen to the town and the villages of Montgomery. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. All right, Randy Green, and again, I just want to make sure that everyone knows for this public comment period, it's going to be, if you can, specific questions and comments about the discussion items, and then privilege of the floor type comments will be at the end towards general public comment. Go ahead, Randy.
I'm going to pass that.
You're going to pass that? Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. We're all going to learn together. All right. Oh no, can't read this. I don't know. We got
Number 4.
Sherry, Sahikos.
Sherry. Okay.
Sherry.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, and I thank you all for having it as an open discussion. Welcome to the new members. Welcome and Happy New Year to the old and to my fellow residents. I'm speaking to you for some of the questions. I am definitely for a moratorium and a comprehensive plan, so you understand. I think that the town is being told and given a direction about where it needs to be gone and what is best for it by outside entities that perhaps may have the best interest at heart. But if you were what somebody dictated to you, you may not be in those seats right now, and I think that we can do far better than what we're being given. I'd like to challenge each one of these board members to not just see today and the immediate financial or apparent financial benefits of today, but to examine the lands that we have, industrial and business, and realize, the board especially, the consumption of that land being utilized by one industry, and we know that being warehouse and trucking, that is a majority. No good financial set for anybody in the dynamics of setting up their finances, puts all their eggs in one basket. I feel that Montgomery is doing that. I believe that the comprehensive plan definitely will help guide us as to locations where this can grow. We are an amazing place. We not only have the people that Mr. Mertz spoke of, and old and new, but we also have this bucolic, amazing location. And it's worth more than just trucking, so you understand. Yes, is it good for that? I thoroughly agree. I mean, why not put a hotel on a beautiful lake? But there comes a time when we need to evaluate our lands very carefully. And we need to understand that just to go out to somebody who wants to come in and take away land for one purpose that no longer serves our financial diversification, we're giving up our ability to be more. We're also yielding to other people's ideals of what we could be with this amazing, amazing location. Because of its location, we don't have to take this low-hanging fruit, and I call it low-hanging fruit because we are far more. I'd like to ask a question that should a moratorium. I happen to be directly affected, as most people who know me. I live on Lakeview, and there is a warehouse being placed across the street. I'm sure you're familiar if you've caught up with some of the business around here. The logistics and the location are harsh and wrong. They're not only wrong because it's 17K. We have no greenway into town. Nobody has yet to consider how is it that when people come in here, what is it we see? I'd like to see that both small and large warehouse within reason are considered in this moratorium and not just the large ones. I'd like that very much. I think it's important and critical. And that you all, I know many of you voted for the zone change to allow sailfish. I think that should not have been done. I understand that's not my position. I don't carry a responsibility, but I am a resident. And without a comprehensive plan in place so that you all truly, truly understand the directions of what the residents want. Some may never care, some may never speak, some may yell and scream. But a lot of people have spoken, and that's why a group called RPM obviously got started. But it's more than just RPM. There's an awful lot of residents out there that care about the town, its direction, and what its healthiness is. We can't have something like sailfish, which is part of the question of being under the moratorium in the business at hand, dictate to us what kind of sewer system we need down here for 747. We need to dictate that for ourselves. The residents do. What do we see long term? Not just today, but into the future. So I'd like you to consider that, and I'd like you to take it to heart, which is what Mr. Berger is speaking on and other people. Before this jewel that we, $1 million place next to Stewart, Orange County, you know it, I know it. We just don't have to be warehouses. We need to be better financially diverse and seeing to tomorrow. So please, thank you.
Thank you, Sheree. And thank you for your service to our country.
I thank you.
Mary Ellen Matisse, familiar face. Is it specific to the agenda items?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. I know what this is. I don't think it's on.
I don't think it's on.
Did I touch it?
Yeah.
Mary Ellen, I missed this back and forth.
Oh, now it's on. I know, so you know, I mean, this is very familiar, doesn't it? And if I give an ode to Jim Felitti, when he Googles himself,
Agenda items.
Come on. That's an insult joke, sorry. Okay, so comprehensive plan, okay, I'm just gonna bring up a couple of items that I hope when we form a committee and when the committee starts meeting, we sort of seriously pursue. One, I think, would be getting the Farmland Preservation Board back in action. Ooh, okay, is that better? Is that better?
Yep.
Farmland Preservation Board, the last administration let it go fallow, no pun intended.
Okay.
And so that has sort of gone by the wayside, and yet it served a very significant purpose in terms of protecting farmland, protecting open space in the town for many years. And I don't remember how it was funded. I know they got funding on sales of properties. Do you remember, Ron?
Well, if you have an Ag and Farmland Protection Board, you can apply for state grants, and there's state grants available every year, especially for dairy farmers.
But I think it was, I don't know if we had a transfer tax, but
No, we did not have transportation.
okay. Now, Ulster County, of course, just applied for it countywide and got it. Orange County didn't do that yet. But I asked somebody, how come Warwick has it?
They put it in place. It
They
was
got-
tough back then, but they're actually benefited a lot of their farmers.
But now someone told me, and I don't know if it was Mike in Evans's office, I'm not sure who told me, that they applied to the state for special permission to the legislature.
Many times, yeah.
So I don't see why we can't start pursuing that as a means of, I mean, look at all the development that's going on. You talk about, they get 3% on every sale. So all the people who are trying to evade taxes, some of the, or lower their tax rates through IDA or through other, pilots and stuff, at least then we'd still get a good chunk of money that we could apply. That we could apply to either parkland, historic preservation, and open space preservation or development rights. And the other one is conservation.
Take it back a little bit.
Conservation easements. And there are a few. I know the Menendez Farm is a conservation easement out on Wilk Hill Road, and the Bruderhof has a conservation easement. I would like to see the town as part of the comprehensive plan too, if we're trying to protect open spaces. They have the Bruderhof has 2 more parcels of land. Why aren't those lands folded into their conservation easement or a new easement developed for the 2 other parcels? And also because they want to protect themselves with open space. That's part of their style of living. And it would help the town too. And any other developments that are coming along, especially ones that are tax exempt, like the one on Osiris Road, why not ask them to develop the conservation easement to protect that? To protect that space. So that's just a couple of thoughts going forward. I don't know this.
Yeah, we might need to replace those batteries.
Okay.
Sean wanted to replace, get that one working.
Set down one, Sean.
It's staying green.
Did you have anything else, Marietta?
One more item.
Okay.
Moving down to number C.
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 Okay.
Ambulance corps. Ambulance corps. I feel like at this point I have to make sure that I'm ambulatory so that if anything happens I could walk to St. Luke's. Really. But I just did a quick Google, and evidently New York State has an emergency services revolving loan fund. And as we move forward with working on the ambulance corps, and if funding is coming from the town, then really maybe their plan, their short-term plan, their long-term plan should be done more closely with the town and the town board members. And this revolving loan fund could be something that, as a long-term solution, would help us. It's a lot of money for apparatus, construction, rehabilitation of facilities. Some places are getting $500,000, $700,000, so there's a lot of money there.
I'll look into that, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm just throwing that out. That was just a quick Google for tonight.
Thank you, Mary Ellen.
Okay.
Okay, that's the last of those who signed up. Is there anyone else who has a specific question on some of the agenda items? Karina Tipton, Montgomery.
Maybe I'll hear the question.
There you go.
Maybe it was an elevation. Hi, I'm Karina Tipton. This is the first town board meeting I've been truly excited to come to in a really long time. Yes. I just wanted to let you all know that. I wanted to speak about item B, which is the comprehensive plan and moratorium discussion. And I wanted to ask you to proceed as quickly as possible. I understand there are a lot of deliberative conversations you need to have. You have to do a lot of research. But I'm a project manager at work, and I have to back out on time frames, and so I don't even know what I'm talking about, and this is the time frame that I backed out for you guys, so please consider this. Right now, just to set the stage, there's a lot of hearings currently in front of the planning board, scheduled in front of the planning board, scheduled in front of the IDA. Business is moving very quickly in front of those 2 boards, as well as our other boards that we have in Montgomery. A moratorium, if we do it the way it was done in the past, I think it was early 2000s, that's going to require a local law, which has a built-in time frame, a requirement for public hearings and notification process. That's a long period of time. A comprehensive plan, if we're going to do it the right way, the transparent way, that's going to protect the town, do it ironclad, make sure that nobody can complain that their interests were not adequately considered in the comprehensive plan as it's redone. That's going to require an extensive public engagement process. these are long time frames, right? So we have to get it started now. I'm excited that it's on this agenda. It hasn't been on an agenda in months, ever. I'm not sure if I've ever seen it written on a piece of paper with a town seal on it. But it's truly important that we do this quickly, because right now, I mean, we've seen the scathing report on IDAs from James Gubas's office that I don't like to see Montgomery as one of 2 case studies for how bad things are, and that was what that report had in it. And that's about our IDA, who is currently holding more hearings, more deliberative actions, awarding more funds as we speak this month. Our town planning board is proceeding without appropriate zoning codes. They don't have the tools they need to protect the residents. The planning board and the IDA's actions are leaving us vulnerable to lawsuits. They're leaving us vulnerable to state deliberative action against the town. The town board needs to step up quickly as possible to protect the town, because the IDA and the planning board are unable to do so with the tools that they have. You have the tools that you need to protect our town. So please do so as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Karina. I saw another hand up. Hi, come on up. And while I was presumptive and know Karina and know you, but for the record, could you please state your name and where you're from?
They all know who I am.
For those live streaming, they may not know you. They may want to get to know you.
I'm not so sure about that. My name is Barbara Lerner. I own the property on the corner of 747 and 17K. And I am grateful that even though I am not a resident, that I'm being offered the opportunity to be able to speak before you, especially regarding the moratorium and the comprehensive plan. The need for a moratorium and comprehensive plan right now are more critical than ever. We're working with a plan whose basis was in 1998. It has been updated slightly, but not really enough to account for the types of projects that are coming before the boards. These projects were not even contemplated at the time the base portion of the comp plan was written. As far as a moratorium goes, there are now, I think, 13 major warehouses that are before the various boards. And that doesn't include the village boards. These warehouse buildings are intended to operate on a 24/7 basis. Full studies for traffic have not been done. There is no study that has been done that would truly consider the cumulative impact that these industries have. Only a comprehensive plan with updated zoning, not only for warehouses, but also for things like junkyards, which has not been addressed either, need to be put in place. We have one shot to do this. Once the other boards begin to move forward with approvals and these theoretically shovel-ready projects commence, you won't have the opportunity to put a halt or even a pause on any of this. Right now, there is a fear that there will be backlash from several of the applicants, considering the amount of money that they have spent. However, that money spent, the money invested, whether it's legal or engineering or public relations, any part of that has been done for the application process and not specifically for the project. They would have had to do this anyway. If the project was turned down, that money still would have been spent. There's no reason not to press pause for fear of a lawsuit. Not a single one of these other projects has begun. As you also well know, I have served the town board, the planning board, and the IDA with an Article 78 for zoning. The zoning law from 2010 is very specific on which parcels are included in the IB zone and not I2. Until you redefine what is going to be in each of these zones, it's imperative that you not move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anyone else before we move on? Get some business done. Up? Yeah, sir. Come on up. Oh, Mr. Joe Keane. our esteemed chairman of the Town Ethics Board.
No, that's not why I'm here. Joe Keenan, resident of the town. I just, two things real quick. The quick thing is, thank you very much for I'm in the fire service and putting our ambulance brethren on the agenda and trying to help them out. So I spoke with them a few times, and I don't know a lot about EMS service, fire service, but hopefully come to some good resolution and some good ideas for the town and for the success for the ambulance corps in the future. I just want to talk about the comprehensive plan and kind of just piggyback some things other people said. If we don't take a pause now, somehow, and I'll just say mega warehouses, I'm going to say who or whatever, you can use your imagination. They get built, you can't go back and say, oh, we shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's too late. It's done, it's there. One mega warehouse of 17K is like 22 acres, just a building. 22 acres is just a building. The other one, it's got to be close to 25. So, and maybe you can't envision 25 acres. It's kind of hard to walk 25 acres. It takes a long time. You get tired walking through the woods. But if you took that mega warehouse and you set it in the village of Montgomery, over top of the village, or the village of Walden, that is mega. Okay, so I want to thank you too for putting that on here. That was one of your campaign things, and you're keeping your word, and that's a good thing. And so hopefully some good of all this comes out.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
All right, ready to move on to our first, our no old business, so we'll go on to new business. The first thing I wanted to bring up is establishing a Town of Montgomery Citizen of the Month. Basically, this will be a motion to establish the Town of Montgomery Citizen of the Month. This honor will be presented each month to a resident of the Town of Montgomery that has shown outstanding dedication and service to our community. Any resident of the Town of Montgomery can recommend to the Town Board a deserving honoree to be considered. Please email all potential honorees to the attention of Supervisor Brian Marr, myself, and you'll be able to do that by mail, directly to Town Hall, or by emailing me at bmar@townofmontgomery.com. Does anyone on the board have any questions about that? It's pretty straightforward, feel-good thing for our community, something I'd like to do. If we can identify a budget line, I'd like to actually present them with something tangible as they're honored each month. This would be for an individual, and again, Town of Montgomery resident, and any resident could bring it to the board, and Ron and I will develop a process to get it to you guys to determine who it is we'd be honoring each month. Would anyone like to make a motion to establish the Town of Montgomery Citizen of the Month Award? Motion made by Cindy, seconded by Councilman Feller. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Okay, our next item, item B, comprehensive plan and moratorium discussion. It was very, very important to me as someone who's campaigned and has been someone who's all about being for his word. I wanted this on the agenda at our reorg meeting. Not because we're going to solve this issue tonight. I think we all know that's not realistic, but because it was never put on the agenda when a massive amount of residents in the Town of Montgomery, a cross-section of village residents, town residents of all parties, all walks of life, wanted it discussed, just discussed. I thought it was important to make a statement to put it on the agenda today because we really need to have a comprehensive discussion on the moratorium, and it needs to be, in my opinion, put hand in hand with putting a comprehensive plan together for the Town of Montgomery. I think both are connected. I think if you look at other communities, they've at least discussed, and many have put in place a potential development moratorium. Some are specific, some are a little more all-encompassing. Kristen and I actually researched a few that were really kind of resounding. I think one actually dissolved the planning board while they did it and then recreated it. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. You can go extreme, you can be very specific. I believe there's a way you can do it that can also protect us in the best way we can for potential litigation. And there are certain things that will limit the type of moratorium that we can put in place. But it needs to have a discussion, it's owed a discussion. And I actually appreciate the comment from Mr. Berger, and although a special meeting specific to this issue would be very advantageous, I also want to respect everyone's schedules. I mean, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would consider doing it. But before we even get to putting a special meeting together, I really want to know each board member's thoughts on both the comprehensive plan, moving forward on accepting a couple more letters of interest over the next few weeks, and by the end of the month, really being prepared to form a committee and get somewhere in terms of a discussion and potential action on a moratorium, whether we go one way or the other. I would love to get the feedback of all the board members on this very important issue. Starting with Sherry.
Oh, I definitely think that it needs to be discussed. This is, I hope. Somebody here to there. And, you know, we have to move forward with making, you know, a board and seeing who we're going to go with to advise us through this comprehensive company.
Thanks, Sherry.
I have a couple questions. We did interview 2 companies.
Yes.
Are we looking to go back out and interview more? Are we gonna put that as an RFP, or we're gonna make a decision based on what we've already reviewed? You probably have that information, but I don't think we're here.
So great question, and I'll let Kristen and anyone else who has a comment on that speak. I was there for that presentation. I know not everyone who's sitting here was there. I have also received another firm has also sent in a packet to Town Hall to my attention to interview. When we put the RFP out, only the Pope firm and Alan Simon put in, a presentation. I think the firm was really, neck and shoulders above in that presentation. But since we have another large firm, the LaBerge Group, actually sending us an application, I think it would be advantageous to us to have them interview again, and also to give them some competition, the other firm, to see how they can compete against each other and give us the best bang for our buck, best deal, especially when it comes to a couple points that were made specific to getting a canvas of the community and really have that be a focus. I want to definitely see if we can get these 2 firms to compete. So I don't think we would need to put another RFP out.
Oh, I was going to ask Will that exact question. Do we need to put out another RFP?
No, under the town's procurement policy and under general municipal law, this is a professional service. So the planning firm, much like an accounting firm or an engineering firm or a law firm, it's a professional service. So while it's advantageous at times to have an RFP sent out, some of the issues raised by the folks here this evening and the concern to the board for the need to move this quickly, because it's a professional service, we do not need to legally have another RFP.
I would, in saying all of that, invite those 2 firms to interview at our January meeting. And if we decided to do a special meeting or a special work session, even just a work session on the moratorium, and we did that prior to the interviews, that might be advantageous.
The 2 firms that already
The 2,
sent them.
so it would be the Pope firm that you guys have already heard, but I know some others have not, and then the LaBerge Group is the other firm. So I would invite those 2 firms to come and interview at our meeting. I believe it's Thursday, January 23rd.
I have packets from LaBerge for all of you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Kristen, what do you?
You just get around it.
Oh,
Okay,
man.
can I go
Wow.
Go ahead.
So I think we did advertise that, and you do have people that have applied for it, or we're gonna go back out and let people know again that we're gonna build this community, or we're gonna put it back in the paper?
So what I've already done on social media, and because we're going to be tabling a lot of board appointments, pretty much all the board appointments for a couple weeks till we can better identify some of the needs and some of the vacancies and who's willing to stay on and who wants to get off. I was also going to open the next couple weeks up to getting letters of interest to people who want to be appointed to the Comprehensive Plan Committee. So I don't think we need to send out another RFP for the firms. I think it's a smaller market in terms of who's interested in doing that work for the town. And I think there's something to be said about people wanting the work so bad that they're coming to me and coming to us and saying, hey, we want your work. I almost feel like having those 2 firms, they're really set apart in and of themselves from anyone else who might respond to a future RFP. Because why didn't they, over the last 6 months, if they really wanted it, right? So that's my thought on it. Anything else, Cindy?
But the application, are we gonna invite people to?
For the comp plan committee?
Yes.
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 Yes. I would, as we advertise vacancies for the planning board, zoning board, CAC, historical preservation board, because there are some, I would also add to that list. If you're interested in the comp plan committee, please submit your letter of interest. And I'll get to it soon, but I had a deadline of January 17th, which is the Friday before our next board meeting, so that we can actually have some recommendations for appointment for the meeting on the 23rd. So my goal, as just me, supervisor, 1 vote, would be to get all the letters of interest done by the 17th, to be able to appoint a comp plan committee, potentially recommend for appointment on the 23rd, and also interview the firm that would work with that comp plan committee on the 23rd and move on it, so that by the end of this month, we have our comp plan committee and our firm selected, and we already know we have a $100,000 budgeted. Not that we need to spend it all, so we have the money in the budget, we have our firm in our committee by the end of the month. And I think there's enough time to do it because we've been talking about it for a really long time. We have a number of people who are interested, more people coming up to us now. Giving it 2 more weeks or so to generate a little more interest, I think, is all we really need.
Where are you advertising those on the website?
So after this meeting today, I was going to work with the Walkabout Times. I've already pushed it out on social media. We'll definitely put it on the website. It's streaming live right now. It'll be shared a lot by the end of this evening. That's one thing that I think we're going to really value in terms of communicating with the public going forward. We're going to utilize social media. I'm already started today putting together social media platforms. The town of Montgomery is in the process of having its own Facebook page, its own Twitter account, its own Instagram that will be linked together to just continue to communicate on different forums. So we will get the word out in a number of different ways, and I think this time frame might seem rushed, but because of the situation and the specific developments coming in, I think it's warranted, and I think it's enough time to do it thoughtfully.
I'm going to go in a little different direction, I think. I read every resume that was sent. Most of them are dated June, July, August, and it was about 1.5 inches thick. And there's some people in this room that actually applied. There are an abundance of qualified people, judging by the resume, that are really interested in this and really have the talent at heart and are very bright. I personally think we should have a small committee right away to evaluate and call these people up. Are they still interested? And maybe any new people that might be interested. Come up with our committee of 7, 5, 8, whatever the subcommittee decides. Put these people together and maybe let them look at the 2 comprehensive plans that we have a record of and not reinvent the wheel. And I personally trust our town Montgomery residents on this committee more than I do a consultant coming in telling us what direction we should go. I think we want to get together, come up with a plan ourselves as quickly as possible, or at least a course of action, and then maybe invite the consultant in and get his or hers, their feelings, what they think, where we should go off of, what are we doing wrong, rather than have a consultant come in and dictate to our committee, this is what we have to do. I don't need to pay somebody telling me what I know what I would do if I was on that committee. I have my own ideas. I'm not going to be on the committee. But the people that are on the committee, I'm sure, know what they want to do. And they have to get together, and they have to do what's right, and they have to be, something that's going to be for the benefit of the town, both sides, something that's going to be law-proof, and then bring the consultant in. So that's only my idea on this.
So in saying that, you could still lay out the same time frame and process that I laid out. We could still interview the consultants and then decide not to hire one. So just for my time frame and the process going forward, because we can still do what you say, not that I agree with what you said, but we can still do with what you said we could do with the time frame and inviting the consultants in to at least hear what they have to say.
Wouldn't you really need the company to give you the guidelines?
So there are municipalities all over the state that don't use consultants, that do it in-house, but for the most part, those are communities that already have kind of a not so old comprehensive plan that they're updating, and that is usually what you find. It is very unique to have a comp plan from 1988 and then another one that was developed. And by the way, the 2003 comp plan, a lot of work was done there that should have addressed a lot of the issues we're facing now had it been not thrown out. So that's what I would say to that. I think you could go both ways, right? We could decide after we hear the firms, okay, we've got enough information that actually was very valuable. Maybe we can start doing this in-house. That's always an option.
Why waste the time with the committee if you need somebody that knows what they're doing to guide you in the right direction?
I think
sometimes it's good to have that facilitator. to move the, I mean, I can see both ways. Sometimes it's good to have a facilitator to move that conversation in a productive direction, but sometimes the facilitator costs a lot of money and you're just racking up the bills. So I guess I can see it both ways.
Yeah, there's two people that are interested that I know personally that are attorneys. I mean, I think having them in, they're going to be doing what's best for the town and for the committee, and not lead us into an area that it's going to be subjected to.
All right, hold on.
So,
Hold on a second. Did you have anything else, Ron?
No.
okay, so I've worked on this pretty extensively. I've talked to Brian a couple of times. I don't know if this is working. I can't keep track. To me, it needs to be a well thought out process. Who's going to be on the committee, not just an individually picked and so on and so forth. So to me, I'd like to see somebody from each one of the villages to show that they have tie-in because they're within our boundaries. So I'd like to have somebody from Walden, Maybrook, Montgomery, and then looking down at our committees, right? Somebody from planning, somebody from zoning, and somebody from Ag and Farmland Protection Board, the CAC, and also including the chamber. So that gives us 8 seats. I've been told that a number between 7 and 9 is ideal. Too many people, too many cats in the room, too much conversation, not enough gets done. So that last seat I would fill with one of us. One of us as a board member, ensuring that we have tie-in directly to that committee, because after all, we're the ones that are going to be owning that plan. So, and I would volunteer to be on that committee first, just to be the first one to say it.
That's a good point. Is there anyone else on this board that would want to volunteer to be on that committee? Because I'm being involved in everything that I'm in, I would like to be there. I don't have to be a member of the committee, but just to be a fly on the wall in the room, which would mean if I'm there, it would only be one other representative, or else it would be in violation of the Sunshine Law, open meetings law. But is there anyone else other than Kristen who would want to serve with the comp plan committee?
I think we all would, but I guess we have to make a decision.
Well, it doesn't have to be made right now. We could just, you can all kind of send me an email, shoot me a text if you're interested. We all know the work you put in, Councilwoman. So we can definitely move forward. And in terms of a process to put a comp plan committee together, we've been talking about it. And we've been talking about filling all those boxes and potentially having one person hit multiple boxes, so you can add another person to the committee, maybe just generally from the community who doesn't have a specific background. So there's a lot of options. I would suggest filtering everything through me and having feedback, and we won't have a group discussion because we can't, but I'm going to communicate with each of you, and I think by individually communicating, having conversations, we ought to be able to come up with a group of names that hits all our boxes that we can recommend for appointment at our January meeting. I think we don't need to have a subcommittee to form the committee. I think this board, based on my individual communications with each of you, can make that happen. I'm confident we can. If you guys will allow me to try to lead.
So are we going to interview all these people, or are you just going to go by their resume?
A lot of us know a lot of these people very well. The people that we may not know very well, Sherry might want to reach out to one person, Cindy might want to reach out to one person. I would ask you to allow me to kind of navigate through that process to really get to know who these applicants are, and then we can make our own list of who we prefer, and then go from there and really see what it looks like. And if we're displeased with that, we can always, in a week or two, decide to do something different. But I just don't know if I would form a committee to form a committee.
I would do a work session first. Have a meeting with just us to go through the resumes and figure out who and talk about the comp plan.
So
for that.
The 23rd, when we do the work session on the interviews for the consulting firms, we would also have a work session about the candidates that we like.
I like that.
I mean, and I would say invite some of the candidates here in case we get
I think we should, and I think we can do that by working together. And maybe we'll come up with a list of favorites. We'll see what that number is, and maybe we don't have anything to worry about, but maybe we might want to, have them come to the meeting. Would that fall under personnel? Would that be an exact thing, or is that something that we can do openly in front of the public? Yeah.
Interviews would generally be because they're going to be on their committee.
Wait 2 weeks.
Right.
Wait 2 weeks. Wait 2 weeks.
Okay.
The appointment itself, of course, would be
Sure. But if we had, say, 7 members we all agree on, and there was 2 positions, and we wanted to really get a feel for the final 5 that a few of us felt strongly about, we would do that in exec. All right.
Interview.
Correct. All right, so if I'm hearing correctly, we want to have okay, that's the conflict, right? We want to be able to invite the firms back on the 23rd. We want to be able to potentially, have in our work session, get that committee down to where we want to have it. Now let's go back to the moratorium.
Let's go back to the number again. Is 9 the recommended number, or 7?
7 to 9.
I heard that, and then we had 8, and then we added 1, became 9. And I personally think getting 9 people in a room that are going to be on this committee on a regular basis would be rather difficult.
So this is what usually happens, right? If you have 9, 7 show up. If you have 7, 5 show up. You don't necessarily, you should have a quorum, but if we're vetting properly and we select the appropriate people who know there's going to be a time commitment asked of them, that's usually not going to be an issue. But I would recommend 9 because if you do have 1 or 2, you can't help certain special occasions, you'll end up with 7, 6, 7, 8 each time. And with technology, it's not like it used to be. You can still listen in, you can still participate. There's still different things you can do to make sure that you have a conversation.
I just think the number 9 is
a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to get to, though, when you start thinking about who's qualified, looking through those applications.
9 different people going maybe in 9 different directions.
Mine's a lot less than 25,000 in our town, though.
I will tell you what, we don't have to make a final decision on the number tonight. We can simply see where we're at with the names that we like and then gauge it from there. Maybe we end up with 7. We don't have to worry about this conversation.
So the only other thing that I want to add, what was interesting when we talked to another town, they actually did something called a build-out analysis, which is where they took a look at all their parcels, what they're currently zoned for, and quote-unquote builded them out. So how many cars are we talking, how many tractor trailers, how many warehouses, what is our current zoning for now? And I think that's interesting looking forward because that would really give us, the one diagram that used to be here before always showed how many projects are in front of the planning board. Give us a little bit better perspective, just something to think about when we move this forward. And I think, I could be wrong, but I was willing to ask the Orange County Planning Department for names of people that would be willing to do that.
Yeah, and that's another part of this. The Orange County Planning Department, we met with, Sean and I met with a lot of the department heads in Orange County. Dave Church was one of them, and they said there's a lot that they can offer us at no charge to really keep that price down in the comp plan committee. So we can interview these firms. They can give us a proposal for $90,000. We can ask it to be itemized. They can say, okay, we're going to utilize your services for X, Y, Z. We're going to take care of these 4 or 5 things. So there's always a way to get in the middle there, Ron, and not have to worry about paying $90,000 and not necessarily don't use a firm, but stay maybe 20, 25, 30. There could be a middle ground there too during the process. All right, how are we on the comp plan? Are you feeling good about that? All right, let's go back to the moratorium. Do we want to entertain a specific special meeting before the 23rd to have a conversation and a lot more kind of direction that we give to our attorney in terms of the types of development moratoriums that are out there, comparing them to other communities, yes, in the Hudson Valley and in Orange County, but also maybe dig deeper throughout the nation, throughout the country to figure out what's more comparable to the town of Montgomery, including having 3 villages and certain issues we're facing in terms of development. There's a couple communities in the Pennsylvania area that share a lot of their same characteristics. I think it's worth it. I'd be interested in entertaining a special work session just on the moratorium discussion. And I think if we're keeping to this time frame, I don't think it's rushed because although a lot of us have done a lot of preparation, a lot of work, a lot of residents have come to me with some amazing work that they've done on research. And we could have a really productive work session just on that one item alone. And we could do it, just throwing a date out there. If we're looking at January, Chris and I will be away on the 16th, so we would probably have to do IDA meetings on the 14th. It would be tough. I don't know when we would schedule it, to be honest with you, unless we did it next Thursday, which is not going to be enough time.
13th? 13th is an idea, but we do it after that.
is there a planning board or zoning board?
Oh, yes, planning board meeting.
That's the thing, we might not have time this month.
What about the 9th?
The 9th,
But the 14th,
that won't work. The 14th is an IDA meeting at 6. We could follow, oh, that's the special, no, it's not a special
No.
meeting.
Mondays, this room is usually either planning board or zoning board. Tuesday and Wednesday, court's going on downstairs.
Yeah, it's a mess.
That's fine. That's perfect. That's good.
if it's a work session, if I may.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be public comment meeting for the moratorium, right? It's going to be just the board hashing something.
We could have a work session during the day. I like public comment at all my meetings, that's just me.
Then have sometime on the 14th.
The 14th is a date that works. We have the IDA meeting. We could potentially do it prior to the IDA meeting, but I want to also try to respect everyone's work schedules too.
What time is it?
I would say 4.
It's January 14th.
January 14th, a Tuesday.
I'm good with that.
And again, this is just something that we need to do in terms of focusing a conversation on the moratorium. That's just a group discussion, get all of our questions out. And again, it'd be live streamed, and being at 4, it's tough for some of the public to attend, but looking at the schedule, if you wanted to do a special, it's one of the only times that I'm looking at that works. You can do it, Cindy?
Yep.
Sherry?
Yep.
All right, do you need a motion to schedule a special meeting?
Special meeting at 4 p.m. on the 14th.
So moved.
To discuss potential development moratorium in the town of Montgomery.
Any other potential business that comes before the board, any lawful business?
All right, motion made by Councilwoman Brown. Anyone second? Seconded by Councilwoman Melick. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Okay, thank you guys. I know it's a reorg meeting. I know we're not supposed to handle too much business. I know it's my first day, but that was really important. So thank you so much for bearing with us for this meeting. All right, C, Advisory Task Force on Town of Montgomery Ambulance Services. This is going to be really informal, okay? My whole thing on this is that this is another issue that needs its own day and time in the sun. It's another thing that's very, very complex, but extremely important and extremely time sensitive. I have something that I prepared that I just want to read off that's going to be basically, specifically what this is all about. I would create as supervisor an informal group of individuals that represent the Town of Montgomery Ambulance Corps, Mobile Life, identify other stakeholders and community residents, individuals that work in accounting for different ambulance corps, and we would do a few things. The first, we would identify, and this is a report that would come to the board from me and this group of residents, identify all stakeholders associated with the ambulance services within the Town of Montgomery and define the roles. I'll send you this, Deborah.
Thank you.
Identify communities struggling that have a similar makeup as the Town of Montgomery. What are those communities doing right now, and what needs improvement? In comparison, what are we doing right here in the Town of Montgomery, and what needs improvement or more resources? Number 3, identify any funding shortfalls related to ambulance services and provide detailed reasons for those shortfalls and potential short-term and long-term solutions. 4, provide a report on emergency response times by all ambulance services who operated within the Town of Montgomery for the last 24 months. Number 5, very important, how should the town spend the $100,000 budgeted in 2020 for ambulance services within the Town of Montgomery? How should the town fund ambulance services moving forward, more long-term? Number 6, any and all other recommendations that will lead to the best possible ambulance services being provided within the Town of Montgomery. The caveat to this, every now and then you form a committee and it just talks and talks and talks and talks. So what I would propose is to set firm deadlines. By the Thursday meeting in February, the first Thursday of the month, the task force and myself really would present specifically some recommendations on how this board could spend some of that budgeted $100,000 because there are some short-term realities that we need to consider, and so we're going to prepare what those scenarios are and how we potentially could release some of those funds to address some of the short-term needs for our emergency services for the ambulance corps. And then what we would do is we would call a special meeting specific to this issue in the month of May, giving them 5 months to really dive into long-term sustainable solutions. And if that is done in May, and we consider a lot of different options, that will give us plenty of time to appropriately budget, potentially get something on the ballot if it's a ballot measure for November, probably not in May, but if we get something done in May, make some decisions, we potentially could have something on the ballot and really have all of our options open to us so that in 2021, when we put our first budget together as a board, as this board, we can really have some potential possibilities. That's it. That's my item. Happy to hear some feedback, but that's based on the due diligence I've done, the meetings that a lot of us have had, and the interest meeting with the ambulance corps and other community representatives. It's, again, another one of those issues like the comp plan, the moratorium, the ambulance corps. We need to keep it current and really, we need to figure it out. So that's my process that I propose.
Great.
I'm good on the process, but I have a question after
Yes.
we're done with the process. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I did meet with the ambulance corps, and I met with a couple of individuals outside of the ambulance corps that are very interested in the ambulance corps. And my question is, I see one of them, one of the Charette brothers in the back, and I don't mean to call you out, but I'm just wondering what is the status of your attorney working with the town attorney to get the paperwork done that needs to be done for when we finally decide how to spend the money in our budget? Yep.
Please state the name for those who may not know who you are.
And I couldn't see which one of you guys it was.
That's right. It's a lot rounder.
Oh, okay.
Battery may be dead.
That's good.
Yeah, that's right. I can talk loud. Eric Schreck, captain with the Montgomery Ambulance. So what was the question?
The question was, what is the status of your attorney working with our attorney to get the paperwork needed to be able to transfer the funds when it is decided how the funds will be spent?
So my attorney can do it whenever it's needed.
Now?
If I
Yesterday?
have to do it, yeah, if I can do it, if you needed it tomorrow, you can get it. I can call and get it done.
Okay, because the last meeting that I was at, or a while ago when this was discussed, Will had asked specifically for paperwork documentation from your attorney, because we have to have some conduit to move this money through when it's decided how to be spent.
The only thing I can suggest, because we started talking about this isn't working. The only thing I can suggest, the $100,000 that's been allocated, even before we get a full-blown contract or whatever the task force or the group decides, just in the interest, if necessary, within the next month or two, it's potential we can do an interim contract while we're trying to figure out the global picture, as you said, to get some of those funds moving. But I still need, and we could do that. We could do that quickly, based on what direction I get from the board. But I do, if you could ask them to call.
Yeah, I believe that I didn't specifically talk to the lawyer. The president usually does that, so it would be Kyle.
Okay.
So I can find out from him, but I would have to.
How about we do this? How about we just have a conference call? We'll make sure we don't get billed more than 30 minutes, right? And we get your attorney on the phone with our attorney and myself and whoever else on the ambulance corps end, and let's just figure out what we need to lay the groundwork while we consider what potential recommendations we can make by the beginning of February. Because if we have the groundwork laid out and decide to make a decision, it's going to make things flow a lot easier.
You can move quicker.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Okay, so reach out to me. I work right over there. I'll be there all day.
I'll tell Kyle to call you.
All right, sounds good.
I'll make it easier.
Do what you got to do, bud.
All right.
I'd also like to thank Kristen, Brian, and Sherry for coming out after hours to kind of get an idea of what was going on and what was needed with the ambulance corps. So I'd like to thank the three of you for at least coming out and going, especially in personal times. It's really late at night, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping us
We appreciate
understand.
it.
No problem. Anything you need.
I just would like to ask Mike McNamee to come up real quick. Mike is someone who's going to be working on this task force with me, and he's an individual who is a lifelong resident, a homeowner in the town of Montgomery. He's worked as an EMT for the last 13 years. He's been part of the Walden Volunteer Fire Department, and he's also a former 6-year member of the Volunteer Ambulance Corps that we'll be discussing. He's not a member of the Ambulance Corps now, but just another member of our community who cares deeply about this issue. We'd love to hear your thoughts about this process. And thank you for agreeing to assist while you have some time to kill.
Absolutely. So the first time I actually talked to Brian about this was back when I was assistant captain of the ambulance corps, probably about 12, 13 years ago. An issue that I know some people in the crowd remember was there was a billing issue. People with Medicare were getting bills because they were transported with paramedics aboard. Town of Montgomery ambulance at the time didn't bill. There was a whole series of things. Shortly after that, Brian was no longer mayor. I was no longer a member of the ambulance corps. I think the entire ambulance corps board has changed since then, correct, Eric? A whole bunch of issues. Earlier this year, probably 7-8 months ago, actually, I reached out to all the supervisor candidates to talk about the issue a little bit. Brian was the only one that actually got back to me. Since then, I've met individually with everyone up there except Mrs. Voss to talk a little bit about the issue and how this issue is much larger than the town of Montgomery in any way, shape, or form. The town of Montgomery Ambulance Corps in the last probably 3-4 years has literally risen from the ashes, provides a significantly better service than it did back then. And our neighbors in a couple of directions do things extremely well, and they're in a much better situation. And then some of our other neighbors could probably care less if you died on your living room floor. And that's what we want to make sure the town of Montgomery doesn't do. So Brian asked me to come up, talk a little bit, and offer my services. Fortunately, I'm out of work right now with this fancy brace, so I got plenty of time.
Very sorry to hear about your injury, but we'll benefit from it as a town, okay? Thank you, Mike. And I asked Mike to stand up, and I wanted him to say a few words, because I just wanted to highlight how you absolutely, as a resident, can and should play a vital role in our government. Mike's just a resident, came up to me as a resident, and now he's going to be helping lead this discussion over the next several weeks, and he's going to make a big difference in it. So that's just, again, my further encouragement for not just talking about open government, transparency, and residents get involved, but like, let's put it to work, let's do it. Thanks, Mike, appreciate it. Okay, the next one, resolution creating town bookkeeper position. As you all know, or maybe not all of you, but those up here know, our director of finance resigned. Our finance department has some hardworking employees in there, but because I'll be split in a couple different directions, we thought it would be responsible of us to have a temporary part-time hire. Bernard Bowen worked with me in the village of Walden. He served as a trustee and was the liaison to our treasury department, our finance department. He also has a background in banking that I'll let him speak a little bit to. I trust him, and he is someone who works extremely well with people. So he will be able to identify our issues, do a little bit of a forensic accounting of the town, and work with all of our auditors and all of our consultants, and really in a team atmosphere and a team mentality, get this done and allow me to do a job more comprehensive to the town, while I know that and I trust that he's focusing on the finance department. This potentially is something I'm looking at in the 3 to 6 month range. My long-term goal for the finance department, if it's possible, is to have it run with just 2 employees and not have to even hire a third if we don't need to. Again, not married to that idea. I'm looking forward to getting to the advice, but really getting a feel for it myself. I believe I am the CFO of the town. It's my responsibility, and I'm not afraid of that. So I think this could be a temporary solution to our problem in terms of manpower and identifying what holes we need to fill, payroll, a lot of other important things that come with the finance department. And Bernard, just would love to have you come up and say a few words and introduce yourself to our town-wide community. Go ahead. You remember those days, right?
And Becky's in the back, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, guys. I'm Bernard Bowen. I've been a resident here in the village for the last 17 years. Retired banker. Did bank investigations as an assistant vice president for over 35 years. And went on to doing some things here in the village, helping people stay in their homes. I represented them in court, doing mortgage modifications as a director. And I also traveled around the country doing money laundering investigations. So I do know a little bit about finance. I'm very happy and welcome to be part of this team and do whatever I can do to bring my services to the community and help out as much as I can. So I appreciate the opportunity, looking forward to the challenge. Today was a great day. We got a lot of things achieved already and certain things in place, and I think procedures and guidelines is going to be helpful. So please ask if I can help, I'm going to do it. Okay?
Good job.
Hey, Bernard. Does the board, Bernard, hold on a second. I'm glad you were just the public. Does the board have any questions about this potential growth, creating the position?
Thank you.
Good.
Do you know how to grow a money tree?
I met with Bernard today for an hour or so. I had met with him on the transition team with Chris. We were on the same page on a lot of things. I have an MBA and I was a finance officer at Con Ed. We were right on the same page on where we have to go, what we have to do, what we have to establish. I mean, it was really maybe 2 old timers. But the town lacks in a lot of personnel managers and financial management as far as cross-training, as far as succession planning, who they report to, position guys, results requires, all that stuff. And Bernard was right there with me. So we are going to try to hit every department head together, develop something for Brian to look at, and hopefully go in the right direction. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. All right. We're excited about Bernard joining the team, and also we're excited to have our department head meetings come back. We're going to do them every week until we feel like we need to do them every week, maybe bi-weekly, but for every single week starting next Tuesday, we're going to continue to have department head meetings, really communicate and start setting some standards. We had to switch to Tuesday. I'll let you know. I'll let you know last, right? So without any other conversation, this will not need a budget transfer. We thought it would, but actually the line in the budget is for everybody in the finance department. It's not specific to each position. So I think $82,000 a year we budgeted for Cheryl. We obviously aren't going to spend anywhere near that. So this will not need a budget transfer at all. We just need to make a motion to create the position of town bookkeeper and part-time town bookkeeper. And the part-time salary would be $30 an hour, and it's not to exceed, I believe, $10.80 for the year. And part-timers, I believe, do not get overtime, so it's $30 an hour, and it can be done in a short period of time, and you just don't go over a certain hourly rate.
Depends on the number of hours worked in a row, whether they get overtime.
Even for part-timers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, over 40, right?
Right.
40 hours in a week.
Okay.
They still get.
I mean, one could be a part-timer and work the entire 1,080 hours in the first half.
But based on the weekly, you can get overtime as a part-timer.
Over 40.
Over 40.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
If it have full-time, then you have to hire off the list.
Correct.
It has
So,
to stay part-time.
so this has to stay part-time. If it went full-time, it would become competitive. As supervisor, I'm allowed one non-competitive position, which is going to be our clerk to the supervisor, and the part-time bookkeeper allows us to not have it be competitive and allows us to create a position for Bernard. Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Congratulations, Bernard. Okay,
Well, that was to create the position of bookkeeper, right?
Correct.
Now you gotta do a motion to appoint
It's
Bernard.
in the reorg.
It's in the reorg.
And the salary level's in the reorg as well. That was just creating, you're correct, that's just creating.
Oh, I wasn't sure, that's why I put the number.
No, we put it in the reorg.
Okay, great. All right, so next E, budget transfer for deputy supervisor position. Traditionally, this has been an unpaid, no stipend involved. In other communities, that's different. So I did want to recommend to the board having a budget transfer and going forward offering $2,500 stipend to the deputy supervisor, because I think if done the right way and with the right person, it ought to be a lot of extra work that's done above and beyond. So it's not specific to Ron at all. I think this is a good practice for us going forward and a nice incentive and a show appreciation for the work that's going to get done. If nobody has any other feedback, I would like to have someone entertain a motion to transfer $2,500 for the purpose of deputy supervisor stipend from A 1225.0100 to A 1010.0100. And to be specific, that would be from that same line where we budgeted the $82,000 for Cheryl, and we would be moving $2,500 from that line to the line that was defined for the town board compensation. Town board compensation.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. While we were going through the reorg document, I also noticed there was a appointment for Registrar of Vital Statistics, who is our clerk. That is a paid stipend of $3,500. And there was also an appointment for a Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics, which is an employee who works in the clerk's office, and that is also a non-paid position. So I felt really bad about potentially putting money into an elected position, a deputy supervisor, and a stipend, and then not also allocating a small stipend for the Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics, who puts in a lot of work. And that's another thing that just can't be cross-trained. It's only those two individuals, so when it tears out, this person assumes those responsibilities. So I would like to move $1,500, again, from that line to create a stipend for our individual we'll be appointing as Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics in the clerk's office. And that's
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and the motion would be to transfer $1,500 from A 1225.0100 to A 1410.0100, and that would be the compensation line for the clerk's office.
For the deputy.
Well, the clerk's office has another one of those lines that has everybody in it.
This would be specific to the deputy registrar of statistics.
And it would be a stipend. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Seconded by Deputy Supervisor B. Ron Feller. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Okay. G, authorization of certain town personnel to attend Association of Towns conference in New York City. This was tabled at the last meeting, so I inherited this one, but I forgot about it. I think it fell in the lap today at some point. So our assessor, Dennis Ketchum, plans to attend this meeting and stay overnight in the hotel in the city. Kristen and I both plan to attend, but we do not plan to utilize the hotel. I want to save the town some money. Plus, I don't think we're going to spend all 3 days there. We're going to identify classes that we think would be beneficial for us and for the town for us to attend. And we are going to either commute. I plan to stay with some family I have in the city, so I just thought I'd save some taxpayer money on hotels.
I'll probably commute down by train.
Awesome. So, yeah, we have the money in the budget for the assessor. We don't have to move on a motion on that. So the motion is to authorize certain town personnel to attend Association of Towns conference. Would anyone like to make that motion? Not to exceed.
Up to whatever the amount is in that voucher.
Is anybody else going, or is it just you and me, Brian?
Just you and I. Does anyone else want to go? Sorry. To attend one of the
I think
days.
the cutoff is January 24th.
February 3rd.
For registration is January 24th.
January 24th registration, so we have another meeting before that.
You can register at the conference itself, it's just 1 month.
Yeah.
This is February 3rd, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
I make them.
Okay.
And
So we don't have to name who it is. We're just certain town officials, and not to spend, allowed to spend up to $1,047. So if that goes higher, we'll.
You need another motion.
Okay. Do you want to just? Well, that's specific to that line.
That's that individual's request, I bet.
Yeah.
So if anybody else is going to go, you would need to allocate some funds.
So should we allocate more than the 1,047 motion?
Entirely up to you.
Yeah, I would say let's do 1,500, because at the end of the day, if you decide to go, it's $130 for just registration.
Prior to at the end of this month.
We were doing the math earlier, is why we're having this conversation, and 1,047 doesn't really add up unless you're spending. So we're doing some investigating on that number, so it could be that number, but just in case that's legitimate,
That
we might
includes
increase it.
hotel.
That one does. So 1,500. So I need a motion to authorize certain town personnel to attend association and town conference not to exceed $1,500.
I'll make this motion.
Total. $1,500 total. Motion made by Councilman Melick, seconded by Councilwoman Voss. Any discussion?
Yeah, question. So it's not a question about you or I, but the question regarding the assessor. Do we know if other towns picked that up also? Because I thought he worked for other towns.
Good question. I think history, you guys have more history on that than me.
Dennis tried to share them,
Okay.
so he usually goes back and forth. It's a question Brian can ask.
Yeah, so this basically what they're asking is because our assessor is the assessor for other towns, we're the ones footing the bill on this. The answer is, from what we've heard, that expense is shared in other years. So one year we'll pay for it, another year another town will pay for it, or share the expense. I don't know the history of that. I'm going by what I'm hearing. So.
Or throughout the year, he goes to
He goes to
another
another
conference,
Okay.
they pay for it.
So I'll try to do some research and collect some tabs on that and report back to the board and see what the history is. And if there's no history on it, maybe moving forward, we won't have to pay for one for a while.
So early bird rates cutoff is January 24th. On-site rates begin January 25th.
Okay. So we're good.
Book
in
your
time.
room cutoff is January 24th.
So we're good for the early bird. So try to make your decision before the 24th. All right. Any other discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Reorganization meeting time. All right. So we're tabling a lot of items. I spoke to the planning board members, some of the other members that have asked to be reappointed. There are some vacancies. Being is my first day and really getting a handle for town hall, I wanted to have a little more time to kind of report to the board and give some feedback and kind of appropriately canvass the community for another couple weeks to see who would be interested in certain boards. So we are going to table, the planning board, zoning board, historical preservation board, CAC, and really get a good look at the vacancies, who's up, and we're going to make those appointments likely at the end of the month or that first meeting in February. So we are going to go through these motions. For the purpose of time, we're going to have Deputy Supervisor Ron Feller. Sorry, you're not there yet. Councilman Ron Feller is going to be the second for these, okay? Unless they have to deal with him, then we'll figure it out. All right. So this is the first one is to set the town board meetings. They're going to be the first and third Thursday of each month, with the exception of the month of January, because Councilwoman Brown and I will both be at our newly elected officials training in Albany the third Thursday of January. So we will be having that second meeting in January on Tuesday, December 23rd. That will be the motion. Do I have to read this whole thing?
January, not December.
Oh, sorry, January.
That's a long way off.
All right, motion is that in each month, the first Thursday be designated as regular town board meeting nights to be held at the Town Hall, 110 Bracken Road at 7 p.m. and the third Thursday be designated as work sessions to be held at 7 p.m., so that's a change, with the exception of the month of January, in which the work session shall be held on the fourth Thursday of the month on January 23rd, 2020. The second Thursday of each month will be reserved for an optional regular town board work session meeting at the election of the town board, with such meetings to be announced via posting to the town's website. All in favor?
Aye.
I second.
We already established that.
Oh. It's been a while.
Any abstaining? Okay, motion passed. This is going to take too long. All right. The Town of Montgomery board, this one's getting tabled. This is for the auditors for 2020. We are also tabling our appointment of our accounting consultants.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
Might I think about perhaps making one motion to table all of the items that there are no names filled in?
Okay. We're going to make a motion to table the following items. The appointment of the audit for 2020, the appointment of our accounting consultants for general town finance matters, the appointment for...
Page 4.
Yes.
Bottom page 4.
Thank you.
Okay.
Um,
Steve was budgeting.
no, we decided meant to do that. Yep. Sorry. Engineer for the town will be tabled. Insurance broker agent for the town will be tabled. Planner for the town of Montgomery will be tabled. Town of Montgomery consulting engineers will be tabled. Appointment of town of Montgomery historian will be tabled. Appointment of 911 coordinators will be tabled. Appointment of appointment of chairman of the zoning board will be tabled. Appointment of chairman of the town of Montgomery ethics board will be tabled. Appointment of town of Montgomery planning board will be tabled. Appointment for the members of the town of Montgomery Conservation Advisory Council will be tabled. Appointment for members of the town of Montgomery Historic Preservation Commission will be tabled. Appointment of member of the town of Montgomery Board of Assessment Review will be tabled. Appointment of attorneys for the town of Montgomery will be tabled. Appointment for attorneys for the town of Montgomery Zoning Board of Appeals will be tabled. Appointment for attorney for the town of Montgomery Planning Board will be tabled. Appointment for labor attorney for the town of Montgomery will be tabled. Appointment for attorneys for the town of Montgomery Water and Sewer Department will be tabled. Appointment for attorneys for the town of Montgomery Tax Serv will be tabled. Appointment of special prosecutors of the town of Montgomery for Justices Ray Osmond and Fred Gorse will be tabled. Appointment of deputy special prosecutor of the town of Montgomery will be for Ray Osmond will be tabled. Appointment of town of Montgomery Industrial Development Agency members will be tabled. And that is it. Now, for our attorney, if you could just make a statement clarifying to everyone, it does not mean these individuals who are up for reappointment are no longer on these boards. As I have informed almost all of them, they remain serving on these boards until we make the appointments, because as at-will appointments, they are serving at the will since our last reorg meeting.
That's correct.
Correct? Yes. Okay, so nothing to be fearful for. Everyone stays on their boards.
Including, especially for court purposes, special prosecutors.
Correct.
Prosecutors all remain, all professionals and all appointments to boards, committees, engineers, accountants, lawyers, everybody remains in place until such time as further action is taken by the town board.
To better explain why we did this, there were a number of consultants that we potentially want to RFP. I don't know that we are going to RFP for everyone, but I wanted to have that opportunity to potentially do that if we thought it was in the best interest for the town of Montgomery. So we wanted a little bit more time. It's not going to be a lot, but just wanted to get my feet in the door and really do a really important and thorough inventory of the vacancies, who wants to be reappointed. I got a lot of emails to my personal email after I won the election, and I just felt it was really important to filter all of those, all that correspondence to my official town of Montgomery email, which is foilable, which all of you can see. I didn't want to kind of have the perception that we were going to be recommending appointments without potential due diligence that was in the light of day. So I hope everybody understands that, and I'm looking forward to making these appointments, hopefully at our next meeting, if not one of the first meetings in February. And again, everybody's still on their boards until this happens. So
One more thing, Brian.
Yep.
Do you want to do anything with the board members will be appointed to respective committees by the supervisor, just because it's on here? Do you want to state what you want to do with that?
Oh, yes, so we're not going to be doing liaisons traditionally. We may consider liaisonships in the future, but I am not prepared at the moment to really identify which one of my colleagues will be best in each department. Sometimes liaisonships, I've experienced this in Walden, can be counterproductive if you have the wrong person matching up or if you don't have the right idea on how you want that situation to work. So we will not be appointing liaisons tonight. I wanted a little bit more time to really think that one through as well. I think all of you know I've already called you on specific items in specific ways. You know I'm going to be asking to utilize your expertise, so I don't think that's going to offend anyone. And if you have any comments, have a hearing.
My only comment on that, sometimes it'd be good to have two liaisons for a particular situation.
I like it.
Can't do.
No, just kick me out of the room. I like it. Okay, back to our motions.
Do you need a second?
Motion to globally table those.
Okay, who's making the motion?
I'll make the motion to table things till next week.
Seconded by Councilman Melick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. And they're all going to be a part of this document. That's why they're left blank. So you'll be able to foil this document in its entirety after we make these appointments, and it will have the appointments that we make today, as well as those that we table. So you don't have to go searching for two documents. All right. Next is going to be the Town Justice Court Office. Appoint Clerk to Justice Paula Balo at the rate of $30.89 an hour, and Clerk to Justice Elizabeth Walk at $21.73 an hour. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Moving on to appointments of designating Thursday be designated as pay day for all town departments, and that the town board authorizes the use of fast mail stamp plate upon the signed approval of all payrolls by the supervisor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion that Brian Marr be appointed as budget officer to plan, prepare, and administer the town budget and town finances at an annual salary of $2,300.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain. Motion carries. Next motion, to appoint Ron Feller as deputy budget officer to assist in planning, preparing, and administering the town budget and town finances at no additional salary. No, we appointed the position of deputy supervisor.
Okay.
That's being funded, but this one is not.
Okay, so I second that.
Okay. Ron should not second it. Seconded by Councilwoman Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone abstaining? Ron Feller's abstaining. All right. Motion for Marie Pruski to be appointed as receiver of taxes and assessments at an annual salary of $26,431.59. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion for Karen Roselli to be appointed the receiver of taxes and assessments as deputy receiver of taxes and assessments at an annual salary of $19,611.07. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion for Tara Stiggles to be appointed as registrar of vital statistics to be compensated at $3,500. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion to appoint Karen Miller as deputy registrar of vital statistics to be compensated amount of $1,500. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion that Sean Mears be appointed as the Town of Montgomery traffic consultant at no additional salary.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion to appoint Ingrid Ilkew to the position of animal control officer at a salary of $14.94 an hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion to appoint Kevin Greening and Thomas Shaper for the position of full-time bus driver at a salary of $20.84 an hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion for Tambry Clark, Brad Anderson, William Brown, and Philip Van Houten to be appointed to the position of part-time bus drivers at a salary of $20.84 an hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried.
Comment on that though.
Yes.
Part-time and full-time make exactly the same per hour.
Yeah, I asked that question too. That is correct.
And my question about Philip was covered?
Yes. This all was gone through with Pete, and we addressed any issues, so if it was not included for some reason, there's a reason for it. I know that he discussed it with Bernard at length.
Okay, because there's a difference between that, what's on here and what's on our spreadsheet for some
Okay. I'll double check it tomorrow, and we'll fix it if we have to, but I'm pretty sure we nailed it today. All right. Motion to appoint Christina Penzuk at the position of transportation clerk at a salary of $15.89 per hour. This is part-time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passed. Make a motion to appoint Paul Horman, the position of assistant assessor at a salary of $43,300 $339.47 per year. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion to appoint Renee Gironda to the position of Assistant Assessor at a salary of $22.96 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion for Donna O'Mara to be appointed to the position of Assessor's Clerk at a salary of $20.84 an hour. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. That's a good question. I don't have that marked.
Part-time,
Part-time?
I think, Don?
No, Don is full-time.
None is full. Motion for Gina Ingalls to be appointed to the position of Assessor's Clerk at a salary of $19.29 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Motion for Dorina DiMartino to be appointed to the position of Assessor's Clerk at a salary of $22.39 per hour. I'm still figuring that out.
She's part-time.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. A motion for Carmela Vargas to be appointed to the position of part-time clerk for the Assessor's Office at a salary of $17.29 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion for Debbie A. Force to be appointed to the position of full-time court clerk at a salary of $19.69 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Approved. Motion for Alexandria Abruzes
I can't help you.
Abruzzese to be appointed to the position of part-time clerk at a salary of $17.58 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion for Kenneth Blake to be appointed Chief of Police to the position, be appointed by the Chief of Police to the position of court attendant at a salary of $17.75 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried.
Question, he's the only court attendant we have?
It looks like it. It looks like it. We might want to appoint another to avoid some overtime, right?
Or we can take it out of,
Little sidebar. Motion for Andrea Giglovich and Ray Watts, these employees are going to hate me, to be appointed by the Chief of Police to the position of School Resource Officers at a salary of $28.50 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. A motion to appoint Robert June by the Chief of Police to the position of Court Officer at a salary of $28.50 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried.
He is the only court officer.
can we bring that?
Okay. Motion for Jack Renata to be appointed to the position of.
Brian, just for your information.
Yes.
2 open slots for court officers.
Good to know. We'll bring it up.
I don't know if we have to.
No, only if we had a specific name.
Okay.
Motion to appoint Jack Renata to be appointed to the position of full-time cleaner at a salary of $18.91 per hour. All in favor? It's spelled wrong in the resolution.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes, Granata. You're very welcome. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. A motion to appoint Eileen Steed to the position of Senior Independence Project Coordinator at a salary of $18.83 per hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Salaries, personnel. Motion to appoint Ron Feller to the position of Deputy Town Supervisor by the Town Supervisor at a rate of $2,500 a year.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Abstained by Ron Feller. All in favor? Okay. Motion passed. A motion to appoint Megan Hurlbert, confidential clerk to the supervisor, to be appointed by the Town Supervisor. This will be an at-will position at a rate of $29.42 per hour.
I'll make that motion.
No, it's all, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's carried. Motion to appoint Bernard Bowen Sr. That's position by Town Supervisor, which position shall be deemed at will. Town Bookkeeper at a rate of $30 an hour. Part-time Town Bookkeeper. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that the annual salary of the superintendent of highways for the calendar year 2020 be set at $73,419. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that Blaine Patold be appointed by the...
Pencil, PTZOLD.
What is it?
PTZOLD.
It's a misspelling. All right. PETZOLD. That's all. Be appointed by the superintendent of highways to the position of deputy superintendent of highways at a salary of $31.76 an hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. That motion that the annual salary of the confidential secretary to the superintendent of highways be set at $21.44, and that Anna O'Donnell be appointed to that position. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that Karen Miller is appointed deputy town clerk by the elected town clerk at a salary of $27.87 an hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that Lisa DeStefano is appointed second deputy town clerk by the elected town clerk at a salary of $23.42 an hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Make a motion that the zoning board of appeals members be paid at $1,580.21 per member per year, and the chairman at $2,353.05 per year. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Approved. A motion that planning board members be paid at $3,617.30 per member per year, and the chairman at $9,025.33 per year, and the vice chairman at $6,088.52 per year. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that the Board of Assessment Review members be paid at $141.19 per member per year. Really?
Don't give him a break.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Make a motion that the supervisor, Brian Marr, be authorized to sign checks, drafts, notes, etc. to authorized banks. Would someone else like to make that motion?
I'll make it.
A second.
Seconded by Cindy. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess abstain. Motion that Deputy Supervisor Ron Feller be authorized to sign checks, drafts, notes, etc. to authorized banks.
I'll second it.
Motion made by myself, seconded by Councilman Ross. Abstention by Ron Feller. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, motion that the following salaries for elected officials of the town of Montgomery be set as follows. Supervisor Brian Marr, General Fund, $72,286. Town Clerk Tara Stickles, $68,560. Town Justice Ray Osmond, $27,305. Town Justice Frederick Gorse, $27,305. Councilwoman Kristen Brown, $5,200. Councilman Ron Feller, $5,200. Councilwoman Cheryl Mellick, $5,200. Councilwoman Cindy Voss, $5,200. Deputy Supervisor, $2,500 was already approved.
Can we just have the resolution correct to say councilwoman instead of councilman?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask
Already
that.
noted.
Okay.
We have noted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Just a point, just so that way that the public knows, the supervisor, the clerk, the justices all got the 2.5% raise, but the 4 council people did not.
And that was done by the previous board.
For the 12th.
Just so that way you guys know, being totally transparent.
This was inherited. Okay. A motion resolved that the town board of the town of Montgomery authorizes town clerk Justice Ray Osmond, Justice Frederick Gorse, Paula Balo, and Elizabeth Balk with Bass Mill stamp for justices' accounts to sign checks for their respective offices. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that the chief of police and town supervisor be appointed emergency management co-directors for the town of Montgomery at no additional salary. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who's making those motions?
So
I'll make that motion.
Deputy Supervisor Feller will make the motion, seconded by,
Us.
she beat you.
Oh,
Councilwoman Brown, second. All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I guess I'll abstain. Okay, motion passed. Motion that Arnold Amthor's salary is set at $127,568.54 to perform the duties of Chief of Police. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that the official newspapers of the town of Montgomery shall be the Wallkill Valley Times and the Times Herald Record. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. A motion that the official posting places of the town of Montgomery shall be the town clerk's bulletin board and the town of Montgomery's website, www.townofmontgomery.com. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that the mileage allowance be the most current IRS rate per mile when personal vehicles are used for official town business and with prior authorization. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Need a motion that Supervisor Brian Marr and or his designee or designees will be appointed delegate to the Association of Towns.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can I just ask, so the certificate of designation I send, it has the voting delegate being you,
Yes.
and who's going to be the alternate?
For that one, for New York City,
Yep.
that will be, what's the higher chance you go? You may not go, so she's definitely going, so we'll do Kristen Brown.
Kristen?
Thank you, Tara. All right, motion passed. A motion that Supervisor Marr, Deputy Supervisor Feller, in the absence of the supervisor, be authorized to sign purchase orders for budgeted items.
Second.
I think someone else needs to
I'll
make a
make the
motion.
motion.
Seconded by Councilwoman Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? I'll abstain. Okay, 3-0. Motion that the town board hereby adopts the schedule of fees and fines dated as of January 1st, 2020, which schedules are on file in the office of the town clerk. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Motion that the town board hereby adopts the following as the designated 2020 holidays for all personnel not covered by applicable provisions of a collective bargaining agreement, aka non-union employees. New Year's Day, Wednesday, January 1st, 2020. Martin Luther King Day, Monday, January 20th. President's Day, Monday, February 17th. All these are 2020 dates. Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th. Independence Day, Friday. And there's a half day owed from July 3rd, so that will be a whole day off Friday, September 4th. Labor Day, Monday, September 7th. Columbus Day, Monday, October 12th. Veterans Day, Wednesday, November 11th. Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, November 26th. Day after Thanksgiving, Friday, November 27th. Christmas Eve, full day, owed half day from 11/27. So there will be we will be off Thursday, December 24th. Christmas Day, Friday, December 25th. And New Year's Eve, there's a half day, Thursday, December 31st, that's owed. So Thursday, December 31st, we'll be off the whole day. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Would like to make a motion to adjourn the reorganization meeting at 8:47 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Date enacted January 2nd, 2020. And that is the end of the reorganization meeting. We will now move on to our second public comment portion.
Oh, wait, I have a question.
You have a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We need to adopt the 2020 salary list.
No, that was within the draft resolution document, correct? The question was, do we?
It goes through each one. I mean, most of it is included in the reorganization document, but this was the spreadsheet that got sent.
That was for in-house use while we drafted the resolution.
Okay, because I did have one question regarding one of the clerks.
Okay.
So was that, did I miss that?
Probably, but it doesn't mean we can't fix it if there's a problem.
Okay, do we have to reopen the organization meeting?
I mean, we probably do at the later meeting.
Okay, so I saw that the night, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. We can do it if we need to.
Thanks. The night court clerks get $106.49 as a stipend for the night court clerk, but our planning and zoning court clerk only gets $100. So I wanted to open up for discussion or motion that we up the planning and zoning clerk to mirror what the night court clerks get of the $106.49. It's a difference of $6.49, but I know that the clerk for the zoning and the planning board really works her tail off. So
My question wouldn't be whether she works her tails off, because I think we all respect and understand that. From a budget standpoint, what is the line? What does it look like? Definitely worth considering, but would you be open to us kind of looking at that, evaluating the budget, where it would be, how we are in a line, how we spent it over the last year or two, before we be in motion?
as long as we come back to it.
How many night court courts are?
Two.
Two.
Is there one or two?
Two.
We have one for Osmond, one for,
Two night court, how many nights a month?
it's every week, isn't it?
Judge Osmond's is every other Wednesday, but Judge Gorse's, I think, is every Tuesday.
So that's 6 times 2 is 12.
No, this is for one person, is underneath, it wouldn't affect their salaries, it would
But
raise.
there's 2 clerks involved.
No, she was comparing that there were 2 clerks
Oh,
making
so
106.
there's 1 clerk involved?
There's 1 clerk making 100 that she would
So
raise up
six-
to 106 an hour.
So it's 6 times, it's $100 for the whole year.
No, it's not.
It's
It's an hour.
6
It's
times.
for
An hour?
meetings.
I thought it was
So it's for the whole meeting.
Oh, is
I
it
thought
for
it
the
was a
whole
stipend
meeting?
for
It's per meeting?
meeting.
Oh, so it's $6 per meeting?
Yes.
So it's $100 a year, $150 a year, why don't we resolve
Yeah,
it
that's-
now?
That's kind of what,
No,
I mean,
it's-
I'm talking about $6.49 per meeting.
I misunderstood.
It's not a whole
I misunderstood that.
lot. Okay.
Okay, I'm good. So,
Yeah, it's not. an
would
hour.
we just make an additional motion right now to raise?
I don't think you have to make a budget transfer.
No,
I
I don't
think
think
so.
so.
So I would make the motion that we increase that to $306.49.
Okay, and that's the planning
Planning and zoning.
zoning board.
But that's not even part of this.
It wasn't part of the reorganization
No,
document?
she just identified it in the salary schedule.
Part of the salary schedule.
She's doing her due diligence and found that inequity. Thank you, Councilwoman Brown. Does anyone want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Ladies first. Councilwoman Melick, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
Thank you.
abstentions?
Thank you, guys.
You want to make that effective immediately, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I just ask one thing, and maybe it'll go in the next reorg meeting?
Sure.
I think there's been conversation about this, whether it got done last year. For the pre-audits, we have to stipulate what he get paid in those pre-audits in the reorg meeting.
Okay.
So maybe something we could research for the next reorg.
In 2021. Okay. Sounds good, Cindy. All right. Moving on to public comments. This is a general public comment. Please feel free. Do we have the sheet, Becky?
Don Berger.
Don Berger, you're up first. So you're going to stay put back? You're just going to yell them out?
Yeah, I'll bring it up when I come up.
All right, sounds good.
I don't think I need that, I think I'm pretty loud. Thanks again, guys. I have one question, I didn't get this through the budget process, I don't know, maybe I was asleep during this part of it. You approved the budget, but I didn't hear what the tax levy or the mill rate was.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. That information should be readily available. We should be able to tell you exactly what that is. To be honest with you, I have to look into it. I can't just give you the answer right now. Okay.
All right. I'm just concerned whether it goes over the cap or not.
That was something that I believe was addressed during the budget, and I believe they were conscious of that and it did not, because they would have needed to actually form a motion to do that way in advance.
They would have been.
No,
They lost that
Correct.
time period.
Right, it had to be local law, and it did not.
One at a time, one at a time. Mary Ellen, it's always you. 4 years.
Okay, I have a couple other things. Brian, we had talked about this during the course of the past month or so. The IDA and the appointments to the IDA,
Sure.
how that is going to be made because it wasn't clear.
Right, so we
Have
got
you resolved that?
Yes, so we have discovered that those are not yearly appointments, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, those are at will. So we're gonna collect individuals who are interested in being on the IDA, and we're gonna look at it completely.
And
we're
that'll
gonna,
be part of the 23rd meeting?
yes,
Okay.
we're gonna take a look at that and find out, who's interested, and I'm actually gonna personally call the ID members that wanna continue to serve and ask, and for them to submit letters as well that they'd like to continue serving.
Okay, very good. And then the big one, Mr. Stoddard, this is my 3rd meeting. I talked at the November meeting, I talked about it at the December meeting, and here I am in January. You all know what I'm talking about, the ethics complaint that was that the ethics board agreed with my assessment. You've done nothing about it. I'd like to know, are you gonna do something about it? I mean, this ethics board worked hard. They put a lot of time in coming up with a conclusion, and it kind of seems to me that they're being blown off. Their decision is being blown off. I'm not very happy that a decision has been made, as you all know, November and December. We have a guy sitting on the board that I think there's a huge conflict of interest, and I think it needs to be addressed immediately. It has been 3 months.
I will tell you that just for me personally, I was handed by the chairman of the ethics board all of the information that I did not have prior to this date. That is for the record as supervisor. That was handed to me just a few hours ago. So I'm going to need a little bit of time to go through that. What I will tell you is we're evaluating every single member of the IDA and each of them's contributions to the board and any potential conflicts for all boards. So we're going to address that. It might handle itself as opposed to it being handled directly individually. It might be handled throughout this process.
So at the earlier public comment session, I talked about you, Brian, asking these board chairs to push these decisions down the road a little bit.
Yep.
The IDA is meeting Monday. It's a public hearing for sailfish, whatever they're called these days. You know, they change their name every month. The point is that he's still sitting on the board, and he's going to have a voting interest on a public hearing Monday.
Yep.
That's going to cost these taxpayers here about $23 million. I think a decision, in all due fairness to the residents of this community, it's been 3 months, and a decision should be made, or he should abstain from a vote, but he's too arrogant to do that. And it needs to be resolved prior to Monday. I really believe that, Brian. He shouldn't be sitting on that at that public hearing. That's all I got to say on that issue. I know you all know where
Donald, just to answer, I think I can speak for Chris. So I got this an hour ago. I am not totally up to speed on this individual, and there is communication in here I think will bring me up to speed, or at least inform me. So I think there's 3 people on this board, and you need 3 to approve anything that really, tonight, could not make a decision on that. And I don't want to speak for Chris.
Well, my only concern is that there is like he's saying, there is a significant decision being made on Monday night, where, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but Project Sailfish has changed their application, has changed their name and their entity, so therefore need to go back in front of the IDA board, where they're going to ask for $22 or $23 million tax abatement. 24.4. Well, okay, thank you.
Over 20 million.
Yeah, over 20 million. So I do share the concern that this is going to happen on Monday. I don't know what we could do, except maybe, I mean, one idea that I had is that we draft a letter from us, if Will could draft it, and just say, please prolong the decision and keep the public hearing open until we can become abreast of the situation and determine who will be on those appointments on the board. That's one recommendation that I can make. Because there is a lot of information in here that I haven't read.
Yes,
Are they independent? I mean, I know obviously you have a conversation, but are these boards independent?
yes. So a letter would basically be take it or leave it, right? It wouldn't be enforcement. It would be us representing a position that we feel there is a conflict there. Now,
well, it's just saying, not saying that there's a conflict, saying that we need to further investigate what the ethics board has come up with, and we need to determine who's going to be those appointments on the board. Now, there's other plagues at stake that I think we need to discuss later on, but
there. So the letter, would that be specific to Stoddard individually taking part in the discussion? Is that what the letter would be asking?
There's a lot more with that project, but yes. It would be asking them to prolong their decision until we decide who's going to sit on that board. Because it's not just Stoddard, right? I mean, we could make all the appointments for all 5 of those members. I'm not recommending that, but I'm just saying.
Right. We can't tell them not to do it, right?
We can't
ask them if.
Correct, and
we would ask them.
And we would have to agree that that's what we want to do too.
It would be a statement from us asking them to keep the public hearing open. to February or to March.
That should be done, that's the first thing.
Okay.
If I may make two comments to the started issue.
Go ahead, Don.
Ron, in what you're saying, you have to go through this. Now, the board, has lost Ms. Melda. You guys already have discussed this. I do believe you went into an executive session on this and you turned it over to the attorney who told me at last meeting he's still reviewing it. So it's already been in a review process.
Yeah.
So are we going to go through that whole process again? Or are we going to have a set and make a decision?
I'll tell you.
You've had it for over 2 months.
I'll tell you right now, I don't have enough information to make a decision. I don't. I absolutely do not. And
right.
It's not just the conflict. It's not just my opinion of whether or not it's a conflict. It's what any action we take how it could open us up, how it could, there's a lot of different items,
I get that. But just keep in mind that the individual we're talking drafted the labor law, the new town labor law in March.
Yeah.
He has violated it twice with his ironworker union, okay, on 2 projects before this town plan, IDA. Okay, that's the Sailfish and the one, I forget the name of it, over by ShopRite. No ironworkers there. They came out of Pennsylvania and they let it go last month. They allowed it to happen. The guy that's sitting on that board.
The IDA actually made the exemption, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so you guys gotta, you gotta know the whole story here.
We will.
All right. The last thing I have is, and I don't know where I've been on this one here, but some time ago, we always had that $8 million thing that everybody's talking about, the surplus.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right?
I thought it was
So
dying.
we brought, at the village level, I requested him to come down to the village and he discussed, explained it and all this kind of stuff. My question to you is, I've never heard anything, the final impact of this $8 million. I did hear, Mr. Winchell did say that the audit was completed, but he didn't tell us the results of that audit.
For last year?
Last year.
We haven't gotten it yet either.
I will tell you this, as a general statement, I plan to be extremely forward and open with our finances. In the next couple of months, you're gonna hear myself, along with potentially Bernard and others, we're gonna do a presentation on the status of our finances. And I will tell you with confidence that we will be able to articulate what amount of monies are in what fund balance and how they are restricted and what that total number is. And it'll be my job to articulate to the residents of the community that we don't simply just have $8 million in cash that we never did, but that we had specific funds that were in specific accounts for specific reasons, how they have been depleted already over the last 2 years, and where we are in terms of replenishing those funds. That's gonna be an important conversation. I have a handle on it right now, but the perception that there was just $8 million that was just kind of found like it was hidden is completely wrong. It's a bit irresponsible to represent that position, and I look forward to really articulating where our finances are and how those funds are spent and why.
And I know you're gonna do that, and I know this whole board is gonna do that, you're gonna resolve that issue, but the public, all we know is $8 million.
I hear you.
We don't know what you guys are doing in the inner circle.
Give me a little time.
Okay, I appreciate
Mr.
that.
Berger, if I could say, Nugent Hauser was here, I think it was the September meeting, and gave us the final report for the end of September. We do have that report, and I wouldn't sit here and rattle all the funds to you, because I would not have those memorized, but we do have the report, and it does show what was in those funds at the end of 2018. Of course, it's a year later, but that was at the end of 2018.
All right, so Elizabeth.
Yes.
No, you do what you have to do.
So, but I could show you these lines, and someone could point at a number on a sheet and say there's $8 million there, and not explain it the proper way, and just completely cause a reaction that is unjustified. So I'm not going to do that. There's not going to be any fear mongering. It's going to be, this is the money, this is what it's spent for, these are the dollar amounts, and I'm not going to try to point to a political or point to a number and make it political fire. Okay? I'm not going to do that.
Key phrase, open and transparent.
Yep.
Thank you.
So can we go back to my question about sending
Sure.
that letter? Because I think that with the IDA appointments, I mean, their pilot programs reflect the money that we get in on taxes that we budget, so, and we make those appointments. With that individual event being on Monday, I'm concerned about what appointments we want to make as a board. Could we draft a letter that says, we recommend that you continue the public hearing through at least February and until the appointments can be made to the board.
So this is an issue the community feels very strongly about. We all know this, and it's, I think, a separate issue from Mr. Stoddard, if I can speak plainly.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the day, it would be us saying to the IDA board in a non-binding way, we're going to be looking at the board. We're going to be taking letters of interest, and while we're doing our due diligence and figuring out how the board will be formed in the near future, we'd appreciate you holding off any, $25 million tax payments that you might be considering for projects. It would probably have to be worded in a certain way, but is this board interested in entertaining a letter like that coming from the town board to the IDA? I mean, we could do it, yeah.
It would be a recommendation to them, and it would be up to them.
It would be a recommendation, but
they feel fit.
it would be basically this board saying, we do disagree with the fact that, this pilot potentially could be given out. And this would be how we would display to them publicly that we think we should have you guys take a little more time on.
On top of which, if I may, there's nothing precluding any or all of the board members from going to the IDA meeting and putting that on the record as well.
Right.
Yeah, I would deliver this letter personally if we decided to do it, and I would read it aloud myself if we decided to do it as a board.
And there is concerns. I suggest all of us go to the IDA meeting just as individual taxpayers and take a look at the application, because there is some things that are very concerning in there. But that could, not to sidetrack, let's get back to the order.
Do you guys want me to work with the attorney to draft a letter on our behalf with our concerns, and specifically requesting it would be our desire to see them postpone a potential tax abatement until we've had a little more time to do our due diligence? Continue the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if we work on that? We'll send it out to you guys for your approval in some minutes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Brown.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Any other public comments?
Can I jump list?
Oh, hold on, Becky. Who's on the list?
Joe wants to jump up.
Oh, you're allowing this?
You're
You were the former mayor.
And then I can't read the next name anyway.
All right, just hand it to me.
So,
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe Keenan, Chairman of Ethics Board.
Thank you, Joe.
I just want to follow up what Don brought up and what Kristen and Brian and Ron brought up. The documents they got today was because they took office legally yesterday. And had some discussion with the supervisor-elect back in the day, and the board was reluctant to hand over our official documents to non-sitting members on a town board. So Sherry and Cindy already had them. The other three members are no longer on the board. So in fairness to them, they just did get them today, and they have to review them. Now, part of our reluctance is because we've had other official documents not addressed to any citizen that showed up on social media, which is wrong. They didn't come from us. Nobody foiled them. And so it's my job to protect confidential documents. So if they have the documents, because there's other documents done other than the letter that we sent back to you. There's email transactions that I can provide them. So in fairness to them, they just got them today. And that's the way it is. Now, I'm going to caveat or end that saying, had I had an attorney we could have went to, I might have been able to share them with you weeks ago. But you know my feeling about that. Everybody does, and hopefully we can resolve that issue.
Yeah,
Thank you.
There's going to be some discussions on the ethics board. We're going to have some communication.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Hold on, let me see the list. Looks like we have. Oh man, I can't read a lot of these. Is that Randy Bluebird?
Yes.
Randy, go ahead, Randy. Come on up. And then it's Becky.
Okay, I'm out of practice, done a little bit, so my brain's pretty mushy, so I'm all over the place here, but if I could make a suggestion on what we're discussing right now, maybe the suggestion could not be so specific as to we're looking at the board for reappointing, but just that we just held a reorganization meeting, we had a lot of changeover in light of the current climate, might you consider holding off until the next meeting?
think that's a special meeting, and then there is another IDA meeting later. Yeah, so I said February, because you can't say the next meeting, because that's like a week later. So I'll go to the IDA meeting in February. Make a decision.
Just less words would be my suggestion, just in light of the current climate. On item B, as far as the comprehensive plan committee and all that, we have times for people to apply and people be paying attention, so I kind of disagree with holding off and thinking, looking at more additional applications. Just think, you know, if you were interested, you can pay attention for the last 6-7 months if you've had the opportunity to get your I have no words, I'm sorry, to get your application in. Yeah. And as far as not having a firm and a planner and just doing it in-house, I think that's a god-awful idea considering where we are, but I do think that there's a lot to be said for having more bang for your buck. There's a lot of free templates available, some of which we worked on in the village a couple weeks back with Nancy Proyak. So there's a lot of tools available for everybody to take stock and surveys publicly of what everybody wants to see happen. There's a lot of that available free, so I don't think that's necessarily something that we do have to pay for. I know the bigger firm that came and gave a proposal, a lot of that was included. I mean, that's stuff that anybody that's tech savvy or knows how to use social media can do for the entire town and take surveys out. So there's definitely a lot of things that we can save money on that we've seen also in the village. We did have David Church come and give a presentation to the village and say the same thing. There's a lot of free things that are available, a lot of work that everybody's willing to do for us and with us, and that won't cost anything. It's just that there hasn't been an interactive government and people that are interested in all these new faces and all this new energy and excitement and willingness to go an extra step. I think that we could probably bring a lot of the cost down to that. But I do think we need someone. Having 9 different people does get kind of hairy. So I do think we need someone to be in charge and a planner that knows what they're doing to guide the conversation effectively and keep it on a timeline. So my unsolicited thoughts on that. And C, about the ambulance corps, I spoke with them at length also about their numbers and comparing themselves to other ambulance corps and who they would want to be like, and a lot of the things that you guys touched on. And if you want any of that information, I'm happy to share it with you. I don't know that it's anything new or anything that you didn't discuss, but I'd be more than willing to give it to you.
Yeah, please send that to me, Randy, okay?
Yeah, I will. Where will the list of available positions be? And do you want a resume separate cover letter for each one, or can someone just kind of send in, these are the things I think I would be good at, and you know, would like to be considered for, and here's my resume.
You're talking about town boards, like vacancies?
Yeah.
So it's going to be on the website right now. I put it on my social media. We're establishing a Town of Montgomery social media page. We're going to put it in the newspaper and ask the Walkabout Times to do a little article talking about some of the vacancies and inviting community members to apply. And yeah,
Do you want
we'll list
separate
it.
cover letters and separate resumes? How do you want?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody is interested in 3 different committees, I imagine they would probably want to prioritize them. I probably wouldn't look good and say, I just want to be on any committee. I don't know. That might be like on them to figure that out.
I just wanted to say thank you. This is the most exciting meeting I've been to in 7.5 months, and it was very encouraging, and I'm very excited to see what kind of changes can be made now that we do have some fresh enthusiasm and a desire to have this transparent government. I'm excited. Thanks.
Thank you, Randy. Becky Pearson.
Yeah, cool, thank you. Again, thank you for tonight's meeting, it was very good. One, you made a special meeting for your moratorium to chat about that.
Yes.
But you didn't go this step further and ask your attorney to possibly get you information that you can use at that meeting. You might want to do that before you end tonight's meeting. I know you had talked about possibly getting information of what you can and cannot do for projects, future projects, and projects that are in front of you right now. So that might be something that you might like to have in front of you for your next meeting. So why wait till the next meeting? Yes, sir.
Your point is very well taken, and I plan to do, prior to the 14th, I was going to be doing a memo to the board with those points to be ready for the discussion.
Well, I didn't know if they needed to direct you to do that.
And also to But also, to Becky's point, if anyone wants to direct our attorney, please filter that. And if you have a specific idea and say, hey, how will this affect us? Have some questions lined up prior to the meeting. That's something we don't need to necessarily make a motion for, but just be mindful of. And if we want to give him some direction, we can do that as well.
And will you be available for that meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
That's why I suggested the 14th.
I want to make sure you're there.
That's why I wanted to make sure I could be there.
That way you're just killing two birds with one stone instead of waiting and then saying, oh, let's direct you now to get this information. So, the other thing is the stipend. Can you give me the definition of a stipend that you're telling me what the stipend is? A stipend is usually used for classes or going places, or if they, when you give somebody a stipend, it's not necessarily put into a paycheck.
Correct.
It's usually something other. So what you're giving these people stipends, what will they be using their stipend for? Like you gave, I don't know, deputy clerks and deputy supervisor. What do they use that for if it doesn't go? How does it get into their salary then? Is it just one that we put in and then they use it? Or
Yeah, no, in my
do
mind,
they have to use it and then get paid for it? So how does that work?
So it's time, right? Like it's additional time on top of what they're already being paid as a salary. It's additional workload, so it's an additional stipend that offsets the fact that they'll be doing additional work. And to my mind, a stipend it would be a one-time lump sum. I mean, that's a good question from a programmatic standpoint, how it would work.
Right.
But
so,
it's just additional funding for the time that they're putting in for additional work.
because just give you an example of Village of Walden, you have a store and there's a stipend.
Yeah.
And they use it for if they're going to go and do research on something in Village of Walden, or they're going to go and do something for the Village of Walden. They just automatically don't get that money.
So this
they
is different.
get it once they do that, and then they put in their miles or they put in their leave.
So this is just completely different, right? They're in a work setting that exists, and it's an additional amount of work they have to do in that same work setting. So there wouldn't be an opportunity for reimbursement. It would just be you're doing additional work, and we're going to compensate you for that work.
Okay, so let me just throw it out there. I don't know the situation when you have a deputy clerk that's going to get a stipend, yes?
Yes.
Okay, what if she doesn't utilize those hours? Who keeps track of that hours and what she's used and not?
So it's not based on hours, it's based on work. It's a stipend that's based on how much
So you're just going to
additional
assume
work.
that they're going to do this extra work?
They
and
are.
not even-
So if the clerk is
No,
it's a good question. It's a good question. I'm just so used to going back and forth. So in the absence of the clerk, she's being appointed because the clerk's not there. Someone has to provide this service.
Correct.
She will provide the service, and no one else in that office can provide that service. So it's additional on her.
Are the only two that can do birth and death certificates, and they have to be done within a certain amount of period, 72 hours, it has to be filed.
So I'm just using you as an example. I didn't
That's
mean
fine.
to there. Because I wasn't understanding because I didn't think stipend. It's just, so everybody's getting extra money to do possibly a job that they may not even be doing, basically is what you're telling me. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. They may not do that job.
No, that's not true.
Okay, maybe I'm seeing it.
All right, hold on. Go ahead, Beck. Go ahead.
Okay, you got it. The board appointments, are they from the supervisor or are they the whole board?
Whole board.
The whole board appoints two boards, yes? Okay.
Yes.
And then the planning board and zoning board training.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in the town, I just know from the village standpoint because I sit on the zoning board and how many hours we have to have. We have to have records of that, somebody keeps track of that. I wondered if that's going to be put into your plan, whether you're gonna talk about it, whether you're going to make it formal. That's a formal thing this board should be doing and saying, all planning board members and zoning board members should be taking 4 hours a year to be doing that. Somebody's gonna keep track of those hours, and you can have more than 4 hours in that year and transfer them to the next year, or if you don't have 4 hours, what's going to happen? So that's a conversation I think this board should be having. Once you're reorganizing your boards anyway, I think that conversation should be happening.
And I add to that, that always has been tracked and reported back to this board.
Okay.
We do have something.
Good.
We do, okay, so you know how many people are up to date, not up to date.
Okay, so to Becky's point, maybe that's something that we can, update the public on in terms of how our training is going with our planning zoning board members and other boards.
Is there a consequence if they don't do the training? What is the consequence going to be? So that's something you should talk about. Just throwing it out there for you. Because if you have 4 hours a year and you get people that don't go for 2 years and they're, sitting on the planning board, zoning board, what happens to these?
I mean, it's another reason why we tabled so many appointments.
I know, I'm
to
just
kind of
throwing it out
get
there
that
that
in.
there was no discussion, I just wanted to just put it on there.
That should be an agenda item coming up in the future.
All right, I think that's all I
Has
have.
been reported.
Thank you very much.
And if I could-
Thank you, Becky, for getting agenda items put on my agenda again.
Well, I can say that budget money that was, that I got for doing the budget, that was just a little bit over which 26 pay periods. Because we could track that in the numbers and see that it was being spent.
Can you hear me now?
I blame Becky. Pearson, Becky Pearson. Hi, Becky.
Watch out for those things.
I know. Okay, where are we? Public comment still? No. William Devine. How you doing, sir?
My name's William Devine. I live in the town of Montgomery. Just want to, after going through listening to the meeting all night long, I just want to make a couple comments if you don't mind. We talk about the time in regards to the moratorium, right? You want more time and time and time and time. One suggestion that I'd like to make is, in all due respect, if we don't hire a company that works full-time on a comprehensive plan, you're talking about having 7 or 9 or 10 people while we do doing it part-time, which will take twice or maybe 3 times the amount of time, actually, for presenters to sort of comprehensive plan. The second thing is, do we have a timeline? Do we know that once you set up the subcommittee, once you hire a consultant, do we know how long that we want to give them in retrospect to come up with a comprehensive plan? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 8 months? Do we have any idea?
So to answer your question, I was actually there, and I know Cindy and Sherry could probably speak to this as well. That question was asked when the presentation was done by the firm, and they said typically it's 12 to 18 months, and they're comfortable giving that time frame in order to do a job like this, and they had done their due diligence to identify the fact that this was a 30-something old odd-year comp plan. It was very unique, and if they push the envelope, you're looking at a year minimum.
So in that year minimum with the 35 projects that are currently on the board, right, do you have an idea of how many of those projects will actually get passed and approved within 12 to 18 months?
So, no, we really don't. And at the end of the day, that's why we think the moratorium discussion is at least warranted.
I think it's eminent. I think the moratorium is warranted just based on that fact. If 35 projects go forward, which 50% of them are considered, in my opinion, major projects, what's the point of putting together a comprehensive plan, right? You're going to work on a comprehensive plan for 12 months, it's going to change 15 times within that 12 months because 35 different projects are going to go through. So, just my opinion. I appreciate you listening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That was the plan that we were going to do the moratorium
We're going to discuss the
at the
moratorium
same time.
at the same time. Yeah, we set a special meeting for it. Thank you. Barbara Lerner?
I'd like to add to what Bill said. With many of these projects, they are game changers. The comprehensive plan will address not only the direction that we want to go in, but the zoning and specific zoning areas that will determine what our town actually looks like. If you move forward with a comprehensive plan before you institute a moratorium on construction, your comprehensive plan will not be able to fully take advantage of the attributes that our town has. These major projects are game changers, and the plan will become inefficient if it goes forward. The moratorium, the way it appears in listening to you from tonight, that a moratorium is going to take significant time in implementing. By the time you institute or implement something like that, Sailfish could be starting. They could be given their approvals. My Article 78 would still be in the courts, and my only recourse at that point would be to sue the town again for not doing their due diligence. I encourage you to seriously take a look at implementing a moratorium first and
'Cause I
So the
thought
only ones that
planning
are
board
at
and
will
zoning has
are the
terms.
IDA, so every
All the
other board
every
actually
other-
has terms, and I actually have
Okay.
which one's 3-year, 5-year, they're all different.
Okay.
So the only one that's different that's at will is the IDA.
The IDA. Well, with the other boards, you haven't made those appointments yet either. So these people whose term may be up this year, if they have a feeling or an idea that they're not going to be on that board moving forward, or if they're perhaps planning to retire, by not making that appointment quickly, they could make any decision and there would be no ramification for them. They rely on you, they turn to you for direction, or the boards should turn to all of you for direction. It is really incumbent on you to make those positions your own, as quickly as possible.
Thank you. That is all for those that signed up. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, John.
This might be.
That doesn't work.
Not working. This might be a question for the attorney. You're talking about that letter drafting up and sending it to them, and you might present it to the next meeting on Monday for the IDA meeting?
If this board drafts a letter, I would represent the board.
And of course, it would be non-binding. Just hypothetically, supposing they dismiss your letter, and they vote that night to approve a pilot, do you have any recourse?
That's if they're an independent body.
So you have no recourse?
No.
That's all it was.
Thanks, John. Anyone else? Mary Ellen?
Doesn't work. So, actually, the training that Becky was talking about, let's go back to Becky, for the zoning board and the planning board is state mandated.
Right.
4 hours per year, so. And then my other pet training, NIMS.
Yeah.
What?
And NIMS for elected officials, and you can do it online. NIMS training,
NIMS.
National Incident Management.
You'll get it. Sorry.
Brian Lee, emergency management, along with Brian Amthor.
Arnold Amthor.
Arnold Amthor, sorry, that's a different issue. And so, but NIMS is really, I think, an important understanding for all board members to have. And maybe there's even certain other board members or other people who are involved with the town who should also be. The online is very short, brief. But also, Western Reynolds from Montgomery Fire Department, she did it for us in Walton, and she was wonderful. Many of the fire departments have come out to do a special training for your employees so that they understand what the NIMS system is.
Okay. Brian, you on that?
It's
Yeah.
very important. Really, it's important in an emergency. And I don't want to sound chauvinistic, but I wasn't appointed to the first comprehensive plan committee, that was 2005, but another local citizen and myself were the two most vocal members who sat in the audience and who talked to the planner constantly. And I think that we probably molded that plan as much as anybody. Then the next two reviews I was appointed to. I don't know how many people are on the committee, maybe 9. It's important to have elected officials on the committee. It's important to have people from the planning board, zoning board. And I personally think it's important to have a plan. Because it's a complicated, come up with it, what's really a complicated document. We've had a serious issue here in the town with the last plan. And the planner has to be abreast of state zoning laws, all the state requirements. I mean, that's what you're paying them for. It's not, it's your vision, but they have the ability to craft it into a document. And then you approve it, the committee, and then the public, because there's public hearing on the part of the committee and also on the part of the town board. Once the town board receives the document, then there's a second public hearing. But I think that Hope, the presentation they gave wasn't out of line, I mean, maybe the money was, and there's ways to trim that a little bit by using Orange County Planning Department. Megan Tenorman just redid all the stats for the Village of Walden for last year, for 2018, 2019. And she would do them for the town. So all the population stats, the money, the income stats, everything. She would redo everything for you and could even use the village's model and use town stats. So a lot of stuff can be done in-house, but then, so that you're not paying the consultant to go get that stuff when you can just call Goshen and they'll do it for us.
We talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways to trim, but I think it's important to have guidance.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. I saw Mike. Yep, Mike. Karina.
Mike Ragland, I'm a resident of the Village of Walden. Just want to real quick talk about the comprehensive plan. The more I think about it, I think Mr. Feller is spot on about not hiring a consultant immediately. I have been on both sides of the table, both as somebody who consults fire districts and committees on capital purchases, as well as being previously on a committee where a board gave us a consultant in that situation, an architect to work with. If you don't have the people on the committee involved in the selection process of the consultant they're working with, you're just setting them up for failure. With that, before they can evaluate that, they really need to look at the plan that we just had that got thrown out with Landmaster. They have to understand all that, read the last one, and then also do the research on the other situations around it. But I think that if you go straight into the next meeting, picking a consultant, while you don't even know who's going to be on that committee, you're handcuffing that committee to do the boilerplate that that person wants to do. I know Mary Lynch touched on the Village of Walden one. I know for a fact their planner used a lot of boilerplate stuff in it. I could probably show you 4 or 5 things in that plan that's a draft right now that's absolutely incorrect. Unfortunately, they canceled the last meeting. Won't be at our last public hearing. Won't be at the next one. But again, I think the fact that you have a consultant pre-arranged and pre-picked, the committee will not have the latitude to do what they need to do to make an educated decision. So I would recommend taking Mr. Fuller's advice on not hiring a consultant immediately. But at the end of the day, you need them to review the final to know everything's good and kosher. But I would not saddle them with that immediately.
All right, thank you, Mike. Hold on 1 second. There was a few people that haven't spoken yet, Mary Ellen. Just give me 1 second, Mary Ellen. Karina, did you have something?
I did. It's not related to the comprehensive plan. Surprise. I know it's late, but we had a long discussion earlier about the IDA and this letter that you guys are talking about drafting, and I wanted to add some additional information to that. Senator Skoufis's report has had a number of very clear recommendations, and the fact that we were identified as one of the most out of compliance towns that he had evaluated in his case study list, I think it would behoove us as a town to take immediate and proactive action. You've mentioned before, and I know this, I pulled down all of the IDA documents and I couldn't make head or tails of their bylaws and their governance. I mean, it's all over the place, it's incomplete, it's not a great document. I think the IDA should stop. I think they need to review their bylaws. I think they need to make sure that their appointment schedule is clear. I think they need to make sure that they understand what they're doing. At the last IDA meeting, the IDA is charged to evaluate what the economic benefits are going to be to the town of Montgomery. And at the last IDA meeting, they had a printout from a cost-benefit analysis program that did not address the town benefits at all. It addressed it at the county level and the state level. It only looked at the regional and the statewide impacts from the Project Sailfish, formerly known as Sailfish, and not like somebody said before, there's like 15 different names floating around. They're not even looking at how this is going to benefit the town. They got a lot of advice from their legal counsel at the time, at that meeting. He misrepresented the secret findings. The IDA did not review the secret documents, and they voted to adopt them. They're just doing what they want. They're interested in getting things done quickly, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're being told that if they don't get these things done quickly, then they're going to be sued by the applicants. And that's not the right way to conduct business. We can't be afraid of the applicants. There's already a petition against the IDA's action in Article 78. I mean, I'm pretty frustrated that I've been hearing for the last year in rumors, at meetings. I've heard it from different council on different town boards. We have to do these things for the applicants, or else they're going to take action against us. That's not the right way to act. We're the ones with the property. We're the ones who are changing our laws for these applicants. We're the ones that are going to be absorbing their impact. we may or may not get any benefit from it long term, we're not even doing our due diligence. So what I'm saying all this is to say, you guys are writing a letter. While you're writing this letter, seriously consider, is the IDA even equipped to act next week? Do they even know what they're doing? Is it right for them to move forward when there's an Article 78 filed in the state of New York court against them? Is this the right time for them to continue to press forward, or should they pause? Are they getting the right counsel? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I do think it merits a conversation with them. Thank you.
Thanks, Karina. Marilyn, you had a piece to add?
Well,
if you stand up.
Yes, I will stand up. Just that, and Mike, actually, you should still send your comments because the comprehensive plan has not been adopted, and the public hearing is still open. Isn't it still open on the village board level? And changes could still be made.
Over here, Marilyn.
So, what I'm getting at is that the whole process is open. Even though there are set public hearings, people can attend the meetings of the committee, and in my mind, they should be allowed to speak.
Okay.
And address concerns to the committee.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
Open.
All right. Any other final comments? Thank you all for bearing with us. It's coming on 2.5 hours, over 2.5 hours now. All right. For good and welfare, this is a time in the meeting where we'll go around to all the council members if they have anything in the community or anything personally to add as a notation. I have one thing, but we'll start with Councilwoman Mellon.
I think we addressed a lot of things.
Councilwoman Voss.
Happy with the flow of the meeting, thank you.
Deputy Supervisor Feller.
A week from Monday night, Valley Central girls are playing Monroe Woodbury.
Big game.
Monroe Woodbury girls are undefeated. We're 7-1. So go out and support you. If we're not at a meeting,
it's a meeting.
6:30, Valley Central High School. They got a good group of girls, and the girls are particularly good.
Councilwoman Brown.
So I don't really know what I'm supposed to say, but I do like the way that my first meeting went. I was kind of nervous to sit up here in front of all you guys. I know a lot of people were like really counting on you, and I do like how the meeting went. For those of you that don't know, I really hit the ground running hard right after the election. I spent a lot of time in town hall. This morning we went to the highway department. We've met with the highway department. We've met with several departments. Whether I met on my own with them or I've met them with Mr. Feller. I don't know what title to give you, so I'm just I don't think we've gone through that training yet. So I do have to say that I'm still working on getting a grip on some of the big issues that I was not as familiar with in the past, so please bear with me until I get a little bit more up to speed on some of the issues, but really trying and hoping that with the board, I appreciated all of our conversation tonight. I think it was very productive, and I am, after you say your 2 cents, wondering if we have to go into executive session.
Yes, yeah, I was just made aware that we were going to have to. So before we do that, I just want to say my good and welfare. I'm very excited about the prospect of our team up here. We all kind of have a different vantage point and viewpoint. We're not always going to agree. I appreciate the public comment being very appropriate, and I hope that you understand we're all in this for the right reasons. We're going to conduct ourselves in an open and transparent way, and at the end of the day, I think that's really going to be a benefit to our community and a testament to who we are as individuals and public servants. My good and welfare is to say a couple words about the clerk to the supervisor. Megan, would you please stand up? So, for those of you that don't know Megan Hurlbert, she and I started working together with Senator Bill Larkin back in January 1st, 2013. For a 6-year period of time, Senator Larkin, who was in his late 80s, had some of the most successful achievements in his career. He worked very, very hard, and he leaned on his staff very much. And as much as I like to take credit for some of those things, she was the glue. Megan was the glue in that office. She was the senator's go-to person. She was my go-to person. And we are going to get an amazing value from stealing her from another public service position to this one. She has a bachelor's degree. She has a master's in public administration, an MPA. She is more qualified than me, and she is going to help make sure that this supervisor's office and this administration, this government is run efficiently. And I just wanted to welcome her to our community and our team. She's going to be a tremendous asset to the town of Montgomery moving forward. She's also a mother of two. Yeah, she's a rock star. All right, we need to make a motion to go into an executive session. Our attorney, can you give us the proper verbiage for that motion, please?
Go into executive session to confer with counsel regarding pending litigation
Pending litigation
and other matters.
and other matters, and we can be that vague.
Or the other matters, to confer with counsel.
Okay. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Second, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried.